Hey everybody, it's Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner,
And I'm cold.
and you're watching episode 165 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. What are we talking about today, Victoria?
We're talking about the long end. The long end of this album. It's so long. It's 3 whole episodes.
It is, and it's excelente.
We get to learn all these different things, like Buck's real name, which we'll talk about soon.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about part 2 and part 3, and then we're going to do the album review for 66.
Yes. News before we begin. The album is now up for the AIOC for last year, the 2018 album. I'm not sure if we should even review it. I was thinking, should we even keep doing the music reviews? Because I mean, I know there's other things we do that no one watches, but I feel like those ones we also don't really have anything like constructive or interesting to say per se about them. I feel like there's more interesting things to talk about with our time.
The songs kind of blend together.
Exactly. I feel like we just shouldn't review them and just listen to them and let it be music at this point. Do you agree? It's up to you. Do you agree?
No, I didn't say yes because I knew you'd say then go fix it. And
I wasn't going to respond like that. I was genuinely asking.
No, I agree. I agree.
All right, cool. So we're not going to do that. No.
No.
There's another thing. I wanted to talk about this like 4 episodes ago, but I keep on forgetting and forgetting.
Wait,
and forgetting.
It?
No. It's been on my desktop and you haven't seen it this whole time. In one of the web quests, I think it was for Out to Sea. For Out to Sea in the web quest where they have the fan art every time, and it's normally stuff. They sometimes have
some
like
of our memes. They put some of our memes in there, and they're just like, we got these sick memes.
They normally have some like higher quality stuff drawn by the older kids, and lots of like stuff drawn by younger kids. Lots of it is just like redrawings.
So that Riverdale picture you told me about this morning.
Lots of it is just redrawings of like pre-existing art. But there's one I saw and was like, this is incredible. I have to show Victoria, and I'll put it up on the screen here. And it's Whit and Eugene.
Oh my god!
As Calvin and Hobbes.
That's so cute.
I forgot to write down who did it, but if you go to the web quest for Out to Sea, then you will be able to see.
You can put the name on the screen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Credit the artist.
Yeah, who made it?
So cute.
It's so cute, and I'm so glad Victoria hasn't noticed it for the last month and a half that it's been on my desktop.
Wait, would it have been on your desktop when I was borrowing your computer?
Wait, yes, it was.
Wow. Well,
that's why I was glad you didn't notice it.
That's because I don't look at your stuff.
I appreciate that. No,
your privacy.
I figured you would like be able to tell like just at a glance without like.
I don't look at your stuff.
Well, I know, but I figured just like you're...
Nah, I'm not a snoop. I'm not into that.
I gouged out my own eyes so I couldn't see anything. Anyways, yeah.
I gouged out my eyes and I put myself into exile. Yeah. Just like Oedipus.
Cut off your right hand. Okay.
So I couldn't see it. Because that's why Oedipus did that. So he wouldn't look at his parents' desktop pictures.
News done. The Long End Part 2, episode 860, written by Paul McCusker. What happened in the second part, Victoria? Bearing in mind, of course, that as always with multiple parts, we have not listened to part 3 yet as we talk about this now.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff, so hopefully I don't forget anything. So Buck and Katrina and Eugene review his birth certificate. We find out his real name. It is, drumroll, Buck Oliver.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Buck Oliver. I was really disappointed.
But then there's like, my middle name is Jebediah.
And they're just like, that's Mr. Skin's first name. He's like, yeah, it is. And I was like, it's his dad.
It's
gotta be his dad.
I wrote this down later, but I'm really glad they brought that up right away so it wasn't like, ooh, plot twist, you forgot that was Mr. Skin's first name. I'm glad they brought that up immediately so it can be like, okay, we all recognize that Jebediah is Skin's first name.
Jebediah! And Buck's like, yeah. So there's a lot of jewels in this episode,
There's a lot of jewels.
There's a lot of jewels, Buck, shippy stuff.
When Mr. Skin said the thing about her name, I was like, creepy, man.
I was just
don't talk about it like that.
I was just like, oh, man. Okay, yeah, I was under, but also I was just like, man, Buck and Jules are like meant for each other. They both have
That's not even her name.
Parents who like name them after like stuff they shouldn't be named after. Like, one is named after money and one is named after a month.
Yeah.
And
I forgot that her name even sounds like that, because that's what we thought her name was, like...
Because her name's July.
Before... Well, we thought her name was Jules, like, Jewels. Like, at least that's what I thought her name was, like, back when we heard it, but hadn't seen it spelled yet.
I think it was more,
like,
we were hoping.
Pre-album 57. Well, no, I never thought Jules was short for July.
I know.
Who names their kid July?
I'm surprised they've never called her July on the show.
I am also surprised that they've
never... Like, Connie's never been like, July, Kendall, get in here.
I am surprised that that's never come up once since life expectancy.
Maybe it's
and it makes me wonder...
They want to forget about
it. Makes...
They don't want to address it.
I was going to say they probably just, like, forget that that's her full name. That also is a very likely possibility. We don't want to think about the implications. What else happens?
So there's some stuff with Monty and Jason and them trying to figure stuff out. Buck has a line where Buck's... Oh my gosh, Buck in this episode. I was losing my mind. I actually almost cried when he said to Jules one time, he was talking about, like, how much he struggles with his past. And, like, this is the kind of stuff I've wanted with him for so long, and we're getting it so good. And he had one line where he's just like, sometimes I lie to people just to see if I still can. And
well, he says sometimes I want to.
Or, yeah, just to see if I can get away with it and they won't notice. And I was just like, yes, that's such a good line. This is so good. This is what I want from Buck. It was so angsty, and I teared up a little bit, and I was like, oh my god.
What are the events that happen in the episode?
Jason and Monty talk and try and figure some things out. This is probably going to be a little out of order. Jules comes over, and she asks them about everything going on. Buck walks her home. Mr. Skint and 2-Bits, that's his name. I was just like...
I just keep on thinking of, like, best laid plans.
I don't know how much anything is worth, basically, when it comes to, like, older currency, so I don't know, like, what bits is... I don't know if that's, like, $1 or if it's just, like,
it's a currency from Equestria.
Thank you, Devin. That's gold, so I was like, I'm trying to figure out if it's saying, like, he's twice the man Buck is, or he's, like, not even half. But I don't know. I was trying to figure out.
Bit means right, like...
I think a bit's less than a buck.
Yeah. Because what is it, like... What's the old saying? Is shaving a haircut involved?
2 bits.
2 bits?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shaving a haircut, 2 bits.
Which wouldn't be $2, but it's probably like 2 cents.
I mean, you can look it up.
Yeah.
So we have Mr. Skint and 2 bits staking out JJJ's. And they see, like, Monty's van.
Just makes me think of J. Jonah Jameson when you call it that. Please don't.
I'll do what I will. And they see Jason walking out. I didn't even think about this for some reason. It was so funny. They're just like, we're going to go in and we're going to get the stuff. And then Mr. Skin sees Jason. He's like, wait, 2 bits. That's the stiletto. And he starts losing his mind. And he's just like, it's an undercover cop. And then 2 bits asks
2 bits would have equaled about 25 cents.
Wow, that's even less than I thought.
I like how they specify 2 bits, not 1 bit. Like, that's the part that's highlighted, even though I asked about 1 bit, because, like, 2 bits is the expression. Also, I'm really glad that they gave me that first, because all of the autocompletes were about Bitcoin or bits on Twitch, and I didn't know how I was going to specify that I didn't want, like, Twitch bits.
It's my full name is 2Bitcoin. We had to shorten it after Bitcoin fell.
Sometimes I'm worth more than bucks, sometimes I'm not. It really depends on the day.
I legally changed my name so the people around me would value me more, but then Bitcoin fell and now they all hate me. Mm-hmm. It's a tragic life I lead.
If we find out his full name is 2Bitcoin, that would be so funny.
Podcast over. We're not going to come up with a better joke than that.
Well, that's the end of floor 20. What else happened?
So, yeah, they see Jason. They're like, oh, that's the stiletto. The antique shop must be a cover. He can't actually be interested in antiques.
I like how they think that Jason was an undercover cop the whole time. I was like, oh, if only he knew. It's so much worse than that.
Jason is a horrible liar in this episode.
He's
It's
so bad.
And I was thinking, like, he should take lessons to Buck, who apparently, like, needs to get some lying out of his system. He teaches Jason how to lie again, and then they're on, like,
Aw, family time.
even scale.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it levels out.
Yeah.
So Buck's good and Jason's good.
Mm-hmm.
So Buck, after he finishes walking Jules home, Mr. Skint drives up and they have a 6-minute long conversation, and it was so incredibly dramatic, and I was like losing my mind the entire time. And
he went to the police station. Did you talk about that?
Oh yeah, he went to the police station at one point because he saw Eugene go in there.
And Pullhouse was not very nice.
A very mean guy to Buck. I thought he would finally, like, after everything, especially with Ties That Bind, be like, no, you're not that bad. But instead he's just like, okay, the last couple times it wasn't you, but that doesn't mean it's not you this time. And I'm like, does it?
And then he says it to his face repeatedly.
He says it. Like, he says that to Eugene, and then Buck was actually in the room and he was listening, and then he says that he thinks Buck is garbage, and Buck leaves the station, and I was not okay. And Eugene's like, Buck, no, don't listen to him. He's like, I need to be alone with Jules.
I'm suspicious of Pullhouse's backstory now, but we'll get to that later.
Pullhouse doesn't trust anyone. It makes me sad. I want him to have more friends. I feel like we already got some of Pullhouse's backstory, though.
No, we did.
The toy
No,
episode.
I'll get to it later.
Is that one just called The Toy?
Yes.
Oh, I was like, it had to have a different title. That can't be
I forgot that was the title until I was looking at our episodes on YouTube last night.
So then, yeah, Buck is in the car with Mr. Skint. We'll get into what that conversation entails more in depth later. But he basically is offered a deal. Like, he helps Mr. Skint figure out everything that's going on, and then he gets, like, money, and Mr. Skint says he'll never do another crime. And Buck's like, I don't believe that at all. And he's
okay, I believe you.
And he's just like, no, I'm serious. And Buck's like, yeah, okay, sure. Whatever. And Penny contacts Eugene and Katrina and Buck, and she has to use paint thinner all over the painting because she realizes...
paint remover.
She realizes that, like, the painting... Because when she was talking about, like, how cheap and stuff it was before, which she still hates it. She's like, I took pictures if you want to frame that or
whatever.
Something. It was so good. I
really like that they're not afraid to make Penny, like, be rude about it. I really like that.
I like it when they make Penny awful. Because it's just so good.
But it's also, like, that is her job. Like, she's a nice person, but this is her job. And she's going to give an honest appraisal of it. And I really appreciate that they're not making her, beat around the bush to be super flowery about it. I love that.
You live in the science community world. I live in the art community world. And it is ruthless. Holy crap. So, like, yeah, I totally feel this. I hear Penny go off. I'm like, you sound like my professors, honestly. Except for sometimes they're, like, 10 times more brutal about stuff.
Well, I would imagine so.
Yeah. So, she realizes that, like, the painting was done on, laminating stuff. And so then she, like, takes all the paint off, and there's stuff underneath, and it's, like, a deed.
It's the will.
It's the will with, like, all the money and stuff.
It's Will Ryan. He's been trapped in laminate. He's been trapped in laminate the whole time.
It's like the Yu-Gi-Oh cards when they're like this.
This is like Han Solo trapped in kryptonite in picture frame.
It's the same pose as the Yu-Gi-Oh cards when they get trapped, so it's just the same thing.
Mokuba, you've been in the painting the whole time.
Han Solo has been trapped in a Yu-Gi-Oh card for 10 years. Yeah, that's where the episode ends.
Okay, so The episode starts out and we get Monty and Jason, and Monty's kind of explaining some of the backstory. We find out that...
Wait, sorry. I'm really confused about... Is Felicia, was that the lady who just died?
Yes.
And, like, the one they met
The one
before?
that we met 2 albums ago,
Okay,
yeah.
for some reason I thought she was Dolly Tender, and Dolly Tender
Nope.
was just a cover name. Also, apparently, Dolly Tender is a real name?
Well, no, it's an alias, but it's the alias
Maybe?
used on Buck's birth certificate.
Yeah.
So
It's a bad alias.
it is.
Is Dolly,
It's
like...
better than Novus Ordo.
Oh, I just figured... Dolly's probably, like, dollar.
Didn't think about that.
I just realized that. So I was trying to figure out... I was thinking,
I was like, it's just like Southern and stuff.
What's the money thing with Dolly's name? It's totally gonna be Dolly.
So, find out Felicia...
And Tender. Like, Tender.
Oh!
Paul!
Oh, I hate this. Every time. They give me every time. His nickname was Cash. His designated
Yeah,
was
I
Cash.
know. His dad's just called Cash.
I'm glad
like,
in this episode...
That's awful.
In this episode, they just start calling it out every single time. I'm like, at least they're acknowledging how ridiculous this is.
And then
Remember
Mr.
in the green
Skid,
ring?
he's just like, oh, your girlfriend's name is Jules, and Buck's just like, that's not what it means.
Remember in the Green Ring conspiracy when it was kind of subtle until it was pointed out?
Yeah,
And
and
then-
like we didn't even notice.
Yeah, and then in this, they're just like, hey, this person's name is Money.
This person is a money tender. This guy's just named Cash. I can't wait for Cousin Doubloon to show up in part 3.
He had octuplets. He called them the pieces of 8.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we find out that Felicia is a master con artist, and so are Buck's parents, which is interesting because Felicia's last name is Larson, which I guess is not a coincidence then.
When they said Felicia, I totally forgot that was the name of the lady, and they're like, Felicia's connected to this. I thought they meant like the girl from the bank, and I was like, of course, banks, money, and I was just like, but we don't actually go to the bank this time. That's the difference between all the other bank Meltzner mysteries.
Eugene has been banned from the bank at this
I
point.
just get really confused whenever there's a Meltzner mystery and there isn't a bank involved.
That's
Honestly,
understandable.
it kind of scares me at this point.
So, yeah. So, I suddenly was like, oh, Felicia's last name was Larson, like larceny. Like...
I had to look up what larceny was a couple weeks ago. Or like a month or so ago because of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
So, yeah, I assume the name was not a coincidence. It never is with this arc. Dolly Tender. I can't believe I didn't put that together.
I can't believe it took... No, I can't believe it took me long to put together. It's easier to figure out
it's such
analyses of things if you can actually see them spelled out in front of you.
It's such, like the name, it doesn't sound like a money name, though, right? Like, it's such, like, a southern
Sneaky.
belle country singer name. Like, Dolly and Tender are both words that primarily mean other things.
Every single time I hear, like, someone say Dolly Tender, just, like, the love me tender, love me sweet, never let me go, like, runs through my head.
So... we also find out that Felicia's mama, like, that's what they used to call her. I was like, this is what she was doing before Taz Amnesty.
Oh, Taz Amnesty, she makes all that stuff and sells it.
Yeah. I was like, that's
Penny.
why.
She's Penny's, like...
That's why Boyd is trying to steal from her, because she was a con artist, and she, like, stole from him back in the day, and that's why he wants to take her sculpture.
Is Penny so much in this 3-parter... because
her name,
yes, or because
absolutely
of her
her name.
profession, or because of her connection to the Green Ring, or because she's a secret member of Mr. Skint's crew and
The
related to Buck,
whole
and she's been running the long con by getting married to Wooten and
she
becoming
is the long
Penny's.
end.
Oh,
She's the long end.
She tricked
Wellington
Wooten.
was right.
Oh my gosh. He was! Wellington, the true hero of adventures.
That was why Wellington was concerned, because he knew about her past involvement with the Green Ring.
Because he is a super sleuth, along with all of his other skills, which make me love him so. And he totally put together that she was working with Mr. Skint and was Buck's older sister. I don't know.
So,
Penny's Dolly Tender.
So we find out also that Monty has been in town for at least several days, and he has not let Whit know that he is here yet.
I was surprised that
It's like,
Whit wasn't in
for
this. Do you think Whit's
shame.
going to be in part
I doubt it
3,
at this
or
point.
they're just going to mention
He
it?
probably won't be in it.
Honestly, I just want to say again, I like that Whit hasn't shown up yet.
I like that we can do things apart from him.
I like that people
He's
are
just on a
capable.
fishing trip this week. He's going to come back and be like, what the heck happened? Half the town is burnt
I
down.
like that people are capable without having to rely on him or his connections, and they can do stuff on their own and be independent.
Who needs a Whitaker with all his connections to solve a mystery when we can have two other
Very
Whitakers?
clearly, Jason and Monty are not making
Whitakers.
as much progress as everyone else.
It's true. It's because, but they did communicate more than I thought they would because Jason talked to Buck, and I was happy about that.
I was happy that Jason talked to Buck and immediately went back in and started talking to Monty.
Yes.
Because I thought it'd be like when Jason said like, "Oh, I'm a little nervous. I got heebie-jeebies," and like shakes his shoulders or whatever as he's walking home, because he's Jason.
Yeah.
And I totally thought he was gonna get kidnapped. Like, I just thought he was going to get snatched.
I did as well, because he also said the line about, like, are you sure you don't want to put a tracking device on me?
Yeah, I was like, he's about to...
I was like, red flag, red flag, red flag.
He's going to hang up, and he's immediately going to get got.
Yeah, and then he hung up,
noticeable.
and that's, as soon as he hung up with Monty, and there was no longer a live call between them, I was like, that's it, this is the moment he gets snatched.
and then he just walks home, and I was like, oh. But, like, I thought he wasn't going to end up telling Monty something important. Just because he didn't, he's like, I'll tell you later.
And it's gonna be those things like, yes, he can tell Monty, and then it happens,
and then he gets
you're
snatched.
Like, no.
And no, it's just like, no, they're communicating everything. He's fine.
Yeah.
They're fine. Jason doesn't know how to lie anymore, which isn't great. But
I think,
guys, I forgot to log up. I need to go back.
The
Buck's like, that was weird, and then they keep on walking.
I feel like maybe Jason would have been grabbed if not for the fact that Skint recognized him.
Yeah.
And knew who he was.
I love that he got like so freaked out when he saw Jason. He's like, he can't actually work at an antique shop.
I like that he got so freaked out just thinking he was just like some random undercover cop and not realizing that he was a federal agent.
Yeah, I thought he would have.
How would he think? How would it make sense that an undercover cop could have been the stiletto? Like, no cop would have had such like a high role undercover gig.
And honestly, like, I don't know why, but my brain wants me to think that literally everyone knows Jason used to be, like, working for the FBI at this point, because it's, like, the NSA, thank you. It's such, like, public knowledge.
Yes, I mean, he did help the FBI in Novacom.
Yeah. But. Know who should come back with this 3-parter?
Mitch.
Monica.
Part 3.
I don't know why she would, but like I'm always in need.
Do you know
of
what I
some
remembered?
Stone.
What I remembered?
Stone like money. She can be related to
She's
Jules.
a jewel. Monica like money.
Break open that stone. There's lots of diamonds inside.
Like the Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, I remembered. While I was listening to part 2, I was like, remember how there was like a big bad to this arc who we already took down like forever ago and completely forgot existed, who in my mind is just Wilson Fisk, but like it wasn't, but he was like the guy in London.
Oh, that guy.
The Labyrinth, yeah who was the actual head of it, but we're like, we don't care about him. Mr. Skint is the Bennett Charles of this arc, and it's like, who cares about the chairman?
I mean, is there another guy that he's working for?
Well, he was all working for that, what's his face, right?
Yeah, but that guy's already been brought down.
Exactly. But I was just saying, like, I completely forgot that guy was even a thing, like, that he ever existed.
I forgot about that guy, too.
Yeah.
Didn't he own, like...
I don't even remember his name.
A fishing ship, Mr. Fingers?
No, he wasn't.
Was that a different guy?
No.
So there's, like, Fingers Fishing Ships.
Yes, you're correct.
That. We reviewed that 3-parter with Austin and Tasha.
Sure did. And Sue was in it.
Yeah, and
Sue, right?
Anne and Jacob.
Yep. Anne and Jacob, both of them.
Deal.
That was the first time.
No.
That was the first time that
you're gonna cut out me remembering Gil's when I'm recording.
Just jump cut. That was the first time they appeared after the hiatus. Anyways, so We get like a good analysis, like they deep dive into the details on Buck's birth certificate, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So Dolly Tender was listed as the actual name for Buck's mom, and I was like, okay, clearly that is a lie on the birth certificate. Also, Buck's middle name is Jebediah, and like I said, I was really glad they picked up on that right away and said it, so they didn't have to be like, ooh, plot twist, we assumed you forgot Jebediah was Skint's name, because we didn't.
Ooh, how's this? Buck and Jules singing Out of Thin Air.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
I just want to hear them sing together, because that'd be really sweet.
Well,
wait, Jules
that happened in Legacy, didn't it?
Oh, wait, yeah, they did.
Because he was like the hero.
Yeah, but like specifically Out of Thin Air. It's just a good song.
It is a good song. It's not.
It's a good song, and it's a good song.
People don't appreciate 40 Thieves
People
enough.
don't appreciate. Actually, that's like one of the most appreciated.
It's still not.
Disney
I know it is, Victoria.
It's like the most popular Disney
I know
sequel.
it is, but it's still not enough.
I feel like its popularity takes away from all the other good Disney sequels. You know what is the most underrated Disney sequel?
Cinderella 2.
That one gets exactly what it deserves. If anything, it's people treat it too nicely.
Oh,
the only good thing that came out of that was Anastasia's relationship with the baker,
That's
which there was
okay, back to
there's like drawings of the characters in the credits of 3, and one of them has Anastasia and the baker, but like it gets me thinking, because the only thing that I don't like about 3 is it makes me wonder if Anastasia's relationship with him was ruined or 100% differently. Because of the timeline getting screwed up and stuff, and the fact that like the world sees her as someone who tried to steal the crown and stuff like that. Like, would that baker love her the same way? I need Cinderella 4 so I can find out.
Will there ever be anything weirder in Disney canon than the fact that Disney's Cinderella 3 is about time travel?
It's so good, though.
It's great. And features Andre Stoica.
Everyone go watch Cinderella 3.
Features Andre Stoica as the king.
Cinderella 3 is honestly probably one of my favorite Disney movies.
It's really good.
Like, I love it so much more than like lots of the original classic Disney movies. The prince jumping out the window is like...
iconic, I know.
It's so good. And the songs are so good.
Buck's father's name on the thing, Novus Ordo.
That sounds like a Star Wars name.
It does, like, totally.
That sounds like a name Jenny Nicholson would come up
immediately, like, just hearing that, it's like, okay, well, clearly that's, like, an embarrassingly fake name. And then Eugene's like, that's what it says on the $1 bill. I'm like, yep, sure, real name. Certainly didn't come up with that while looking at what they had in their pocket. So apparently Skint is not the dad, it sounds like. No, I don't think so. Well, no, it's not a name. It's Latin. It means new order.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was like an anagram or something.
No,
like
Eugene said it in the episode. He's like, it's Latin for new order, and it appears on the $1 bill.
I was thinking either it is an anagram for a name.
It does sound like an anagram. A few too many O's, perhaps, but...
It is... They were looking at a $1 bill, and there were just like a bunch of like numbers from like... whatever the treasury number is.
Yeah.
And they just... thought that was like actual words, and they read it like it was one, and they're like, Novus Ordo, that's my name.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad they referenced the connection to Buck's name and the money, and they're like, is that why your name is Buck? Jules even pointed out, and I'm like, I'm glad we're putting this together. And then later when
and Buck was just like, I don't know, and I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? It clearly is.
Full House was talking about Novus's anagrams.
Do you think?
Or his aliases.
Okay, when you're writing and you can't come up with a certain idea and you just like, you need like a filler thing.
Yes.
And then like, I can't remember the term for it. Is it just like a...
placeholder?
Yeah, placeholder name or something like Shrek, the most famous example. All Star was a place filler song, but then they're just like, no, this is great. Never change it. Do you think Buck was like a placeholder name, but then
No.
They weren't able... They never got the chance to tell him his real name. It's like Steven or just something that's not money related.
No, they would never do that. That would be like Whit naming one of his kids something that didn't start with J.
That'd be like someone related to Wit not being named something that started with J, which is why Monty was adopted.
I said one of Wit's kids, not his grandkids.
I know. Monty was adopted, though.
So, so do you think Skint is probably not his actual dad then?
It's gotta be.
But then he's like, oh, his dad died 15 years ago in a car crash.
That was some
but
Star Wars crap.
It could very well be fake, yeah.
They said that. They were like, oh, he died in a car crash. And then Buck was talking to Mr. Skint in their conversation in the car. He's
and
like,
Skint gave his whole thing. He was like, I was in love with your mom, but she loved someone else.
And I was just like, it's his dad. He faked the car crash, and you like abandoned Buck. I get
he could have done
back.
that, but I feel like he also talked about it enough in a way that sounds like, why would you talk about it that way if you were Novus?
Yes, I loved your mother, but she loves someone else, and I was like, that's. I don't know what to think about that.
If that is true, though, I have to say this: we now have a fourth person on the classic continuum of like. How well do you take care of the kid of the woman who had a kid with someone else and then died? Now you have to look after them. On one end of the scale, now we have Pearl, we have Lemony Snicket, we have Skint, and we have Severus Snape.
But all of them are bad examples.
You think Pearl is bad at raising Steven?
At first,
but not now. Yeah, but not now.
10 years of his life.
But not now.
10 out of 13 years is not a very good ratio.
I'd say she's done some pretty good things.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll rephrase that. 13 out of 14 years is not a very good ratio. And you have freaking Lemony Snicket, the worst one, if it weren't for Snape.
Skint is worse than Snicket.
Skint is worse than Snicket, but not as bad as Snape.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, see?
Not as bad as Snape is such a horrible...
Well, that's why Snape is on the far end of the spectrum, Victoria.
None of these examples are good examples. Give me someone who's constantly been good to the kid and done a good job. Pearl, no. She said before that she wished she had his mom back instead of him.
Victoria, accept character development. Let go of the past.
No,
it's
I'm
over,
saying...
Isn't it over?
Wait, listen to what I'm saying, though. I'm saying give me an example of a character
been consistently the whole time.
Who's been consistently good the whole time and hasn't had a place where it's just like, oh, I hate you, but I've grown to a point where I don't hate you anymore and I'm starting to love you. Like, give me someone who's just like, it's been a loving connection the whole time.
Alright, I'll get back to you.
Try and think of
leave one in the comments if you have one.
Try someone give me a character, please.
So we find out Buck's birthday. We don't get many of those for characters. So since he was immediately, it was annoying to look up on my phone. Since he was born on a Friday, March 24th, the closest years to where we'd expect his birth, with March 24th falling on a Friday, are 2000 and 2006, which would make him currently either 18 or 12. So maybe this just wasn't entirely thought through.
Okay, cinema sins.
It was like, I wonder if Paul intentionally, did he put thought into which day of the week that he chose? Because
Probably
those are
not.
both very far away from the correct answer of his age.
I mean, probably not.
I was like, maybe he intentionally picked one that had to be far away so that we couldn't pin down a precise year.
I never put precise days.
Well, that's why I was surprised that they did it. I was like, if you do that, you're just begging us to look it up and figure it out.
Or maybe it's a fictional series and the days...
It's Paul, though, Victoria.
They don't do the same thing. Although, I guess that doesn't work, because you have, like, historical events. They sometimes say what specific day, so it would be, like... So this would have to be a specific day in the human timeline of events.
So Buck and Jules have that great conversation of, like, character development and stuff, and it's awesome and exactly what I want all the time from them.
That was a good
Jules was super encouraging to Buck about, like, all the amazing things and changes that she's seen from him and, like, encouraging him, and it was
so
beautiful.
Good. She's just like, I didn't know if I could grow, but then I did, and you made me believe in myself, and now I'm telling you to believe in you, and I was just like, It was just, this three-part is so good, and we haven't even got to part 3. I'm just gonna die after hearing.
And then they run into Jason, and they actually tell him what's going on. I would have been so annoyed if they just passed by without cluing Jason in to start, like, putting the pieces together. what I figured was that 2-Bits was going to hear it too, because they were like right outside the shop.
That's such a dumb name.
We were right outside the shop where we knew that they were like staking out, and then
Yeah, but they were
Buck
like
is
a
like-
little bit farther away.
Buck. Well, we didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Buck was like,
That's true.
"Boy, I'm sure so glad that Miss
Oh my
Larson
gosh.
gave me the mirror and the painting, and I'm telling you, Mr. Jason, really loudly here outside in the open."
I thought Jason was gonna tell Buck.
I was like, "Please tell him, don't listen to Monty. Don't listen to Monty and his secrets."
I wanted
not only but
Monty
Duck.
and Monty and Buck to meet. That'd be such a sweet conversation.
I was like, how have
one
they
beautiful boy talking to another beautiful boy and becoming friends.
Buck not only told Jason that he got these things from Felicia, but he's also like, "Oh yeah, the mirror is back at my house and the painting is at the art gallery." And I was like, 2-Bits is already like on the way. You can already hear like the tires peeling out in
You
the
can
background.
hear someone putting on their "I'm about to kidnap Penny" t-shirt.
Yeah, I thought Penny was
Which
going to get kidnapped.
Have been sold honorarily to everyone involved with the Green Ring.
And other people since.
And other people.
She's been kidnapped a number of times.
They went on discount after Wooten and Penny got married because they were like
after the honeymoon.
Like at their wedding,
Mm-hmm.
they were being sold, but Wellington didn't shut down the booth fast enough because he was just like, "Hey, no vendors at this wedding, you money
And then
scavengers!"
he flipped the table and started whipping people.
like Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, everyone who owns that t-shirt is legally allowed to illegally kidnap Penny.
Yeah. So they tell Jason what's going on, and then Jason's like, has Duck Newton level lying skills now,
It's
apparently.
not that bad. I've never seen this man before. That's
That's
a
a
lie.
lie.
This is my favorite lie he's told.
It's like...
I don't know this man. I do know this man.
The fact that, like, as his powers faded, his lying got better.
It's so funny.
It's honestly, the first thing it made me think of is, like, Fairy Tale and the motion sickness of Dragon Slayers, and that's what it's like, is his ability to lie.
Yeah, but no, well, did they have their powers in the parallel dimension?
No, wait, I don't remember.
I don't think I want to say they didn't at first.
Anyways,
I could be wrong, but like
because
they
there's no magic,
still-
there's no inherent magic in the air.
Oh
there.
yeah. So they didn't have their powers.
You can only use
But
enchanted items.
They still.
That wasn't what I
got-
was talking
They
about.
still
though.
got motion sick when they were in the cars.
That's true.
But like, Natsu was also like a race car driver in
Yeah.
that world or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I don't. Although I think he also got. I think something else might have made him motion sick. I can't remember.
So, Eugene, they're like, "Hey, look, there's Eugene driving to the police station." I was like, "Oh, Eugene's busted. He's
Do you
so bad
remember-
at sneaking around."
Marvin said he gets motion sick just sitting in a car on the parking lot, like
Watching the
oh
shopping
my
carts go
gosh.
back and forth.
That
Back
honestly
and forth. Back
makes
and okay,
me
Marvin.
so sad. I'm just like, how are you alive?
So, here's what I was talking about before. We find out Polehouse was also born in the same hospital in a town that we've never heard of before this episode. That feels a little too weird to me to be a coincidence, but I have no idea what it would mean.
For some reason, I thought that that hospital was for like a super callback, the same one that Kenneth was born in, and I was
We
like,
don't know where he was born.
well, I know I got, and then I realized I was wrong immediately.
Uh-huh.
But like I was thinking like, so there's all this stuff with like them having trouble finding his
The
records.
medical records, yeah.
And for some reason, I thought like this was the
Yeah.
same kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then
no,
I
this-
realized it.
This town is off
wasn't.
somewhere. It's far enough away that we've never heard of it before.
What was
and
it called again?
It was start with an H. I wrote it down here. Harlington. The Harlington Hospital is where Buck was born.
There's so many like cities that end with ton,
Yeah.
and by so many I mean two.
And then Polehouse is like, I was also born in that hospital. And I'm like, what does it mean? That has to mean something.
Maybe it means that it's kind of nearby and people are born there.
If it was near enough by for that to just be a coincidence, we would have heard of it in the last 31 years.
I mean, you'd think we would have heard about
Millsburg?
the dam and stuff like that, and
Okay, well, we kind of did, though.
the mining area.
So, has Pull House been Buck the entire time? Is there some sort of, like,
What?
multi-phase time travel thing, and they're both the
Devin,
same person?
We've
Like,
already
beyond the
talked
J?
No, we've already talked about this before.
But
Is Beyond the J the name of the theory?
yeah. Also, according to the record, yeah,
Cause
okay, I talked about it before, but nobody's dying.
So there's 3 characters who aren't everyone else. And it's David Body Snatcher.
Yes.
And Maury.
Did we say Maury isn't one of them?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Just because Maury's an alien, too, I guess.
But it's everyone in the universe, though.
I mean, not the aliens.
Yeah, aliens are in the universe.
No, because we talked about this last time.
Yeah, but no, we were like, David's beyond
Snatcher.
being an alien. He's
okay.
We were like, he's a completely different
there's, like
universe.
The spores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I
and
remember
Quid.
that.
It's Quid, it's David Body Snatcher, and it's Maury. They're the 3 who are immune to the time travel loops.
Yeah.
Which means Buck and Pull House are in it.
You know what the first letter of Jeremy Bearimy is? J.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. He lives in the eye, the dot of the eye.
And then we also find out that, like, the hospital burned down, which feels suspicious. Did Skint burn it down to hide Buck's birth records?
I mean, that seems a little extreme.
It does. Maybe it's just because we still have, like, the series of unfortunate events connotations in our heads of, like, Olaf and stuff and what we're thinking, and Beatrice and...
Buck sees a picture of a telescope on the deed.
Yeah.
He's like, what does it mean? And everyone who's
chest.
only read the books, they're like, I don't know what it means.
Yeah. And then remember Eugene also said that the doctor who's the attending physician at Buck's birth, he looked it up and the doctor died. Do you think the doctor died in the hospital fire?
I didn't think of that. Could be.
Did Skint, like, burn down a hospital with people and staff in it in order to hide?
Could have pulled the fire alarm.
Birth records?
Waited till everyone was out, trapped that one guy in a closet, and set it all on fire.
Could have been. So, yeah, I don't know. So
maybe Skint is Olaf. Spoilers for the end of a series of unfortunate events for the next 10 seconds. Okay, go. Maybe he didn't actually die.
Okay, that was like 2 seconds.
That was less than 10 seconds.
You gave a wide berth.
Yeah.
And then in the end, when Skint picks him up, and I can't believe Buck got in the van with him.
I know.
I was like, not stranger danger, Buck.
You know what I would have done?
Bartholomew, what are you doing?
I would have ran. If I was brave, I would have spit on the window, through the window. Probably wouldn't have hit Mr.
I think he opened the door.
Okay, I would have spit on the car somewhere, and then I would have left. I would have, you know what you do? You go stranger danger, you go into someone's house who isn't your own house. So he just goes
and then you yell
Jewel
stranger
Connie's
danger.
House.
And then you get shot because it's America.
I was kind of hoping that immediately upon going back home, he sees Eugene and Katrina, and they're like, hey, Buck, what's up? He's like, so I was just threatened, and all of you were threatened, and it's important that you know so you're safe, because we know a lot of people linked to the police and stuff like that, and tell Pull House I know what's up, and get Jason up in here. We need people protecting Jules. We need a lot of people for Penny. We need people protecting you two. Probably more for Katrina.
What, Bono's in danger?
She got for it. What?
We need people protecting you two.
Me too?
Bono, you two, the band. The way you said it, it's...
I don't know.
The band, you two.
I thought you meant me because we're talking about this. We're in danger just talking about this
true.
episode. They're going to get us
if
next.
we go to witness protection. So the conversation with Skint basically went down exactly what we predicted like 2 years ago or whatever, that Skint would end up holding the secrets of Buck's past hostage for his return to his old ways. I'd be
Maybe
like, I'll only
rewrote this
tell you.
episode and forgot that we did.
And be like, well, I'll only tell you about your past and your family if you come back to me.
I'm just disappointed. I mean, I guess it hasn't been not confirmed yet. So far it looks like this might not be a thing. That Buck didn't just swallow a bunch of doubloons as a baby and they're just sitting in his stomach and that's why he's the money boy. He's like, oh,
it's
I had
like
this
gum
theory.
squared. It takes 49 years to pass through your digestive system.
So, part 3, which is also going to be the last ever episode of Odyssey.
Yeah.
Everything else that we get in the future is going to happen chronologically before this.
Yes.
So, Buck's just going to be like leaning over and looking at the deed on the table and stuff. And then Katrina notices like a dry piece of skin on his hand and she's like, oh, what's that? And then she like brushes it and then she sees like a little bit of his skin curl up and then she's like, what is this? And she starts pulling on it. His skin on his hand starts coming off and all of his skin and clothes just come off and there's just gold wrapper underneath all over his body and they're just like, and he's like not moving or anything like that anymore. He's just frozen and they're like, what is this? And they start taking that off and it's just chocolate. He was just a big chocolate coin shaped like a person the whole time. And gained sentience like Pinocchio. You know how Pinocchio was just a big chocolate coin the whole time? But it's like really horrifying and graphic as they peel away his skin ex machina style and he's just chocolate underneath. And then they eat him and it turns out it was an Easter episode the whole time.
And then it becomes an object lesson about communion and like the eating the body of Christ.
It becomes.
It was honestly it was one of the weirder episodes, I have to say, and I don't really know what they were thinking when Dave approved this.
It's kind of like the golden calf, but it's the golden boy, and instead of worshiping it, you eat it.
Yeah, and then the ground is going to open up and swallow the Meltzner's.
And that's why it's the last episode. It's like push the red button where everyone just dies at the end and the world explodes. So what do you think about my theory? And since I say what happens, it happens. What do you think?
It's too much power. So, Buck Skint is like, give me till tomorrow. And Skint's like, sure, I guess I'll do that. And I was like, well, that's convenient. And
I keep on just like seeing the top circle bit of your shirt. And it just, every time I see it, I think it's just like the flux capacitor. You're wearing like a Tony Stark shirt. Either that or like the portal from Gravity Falls.
It's so fading.
It looks cooler this way.
Old.
It looks cooler this way.
It's also like...
How do you have holes in it?
I have no idea how the sleeve has these two.
Maybe it was just poorly made.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different quality than some of the other Homestuck shirts I have.
It's probably just poorly made.
So, Buck clearly has a plan. Because he's like, oh yeah, I know what you mean and stuff. And I'm like, but the question is this one of those plans that involves telling everyone what's going on and working together as a team to save the day?
I mean, I thought he was going to tell everyone.
Or so did I. I kept waiting for it to happen. Or is this one of those, no, I can't tell anyone, I need to do it all myself plans where he ends up getting kidnapped or something?
I mean, something bad is definitely going to happen.
And there's some whole part left. And they've already found the papers now. Yeah,
they've honestly gone through this a lot faster than I thought they would.
Yeah.
I thought they would, like, find all this stuff, like the birth certificate and the papers, and that would all be, like, in the last couple minutes of part 3, except for they keep on finding, like,
and
all
Skint
the
knew
stuff.
that the painting had something to do with it. I don't know if it's because he knew the painting had something to do with it, or because he remembered that she had a painting, and he realized it wasn't among the other stuff, and so by process of elimination...
I think it's because he... like, noticed the painting was gone, is what he was getting at.
So...
because he was like, I've seen that painting a million times, and when I went in there, it was gone.
The mirror.
Or, yeah, the mirror.
Yeah, because he told the mirror, he's like, I've seen the mirror so many times. And he's like, was there a painting, too? So I don't know if it's just process of elimination, or if he knows something specific that the painting has stuff in it.
I never know what to think of Mr. Skint. I can't read that guy.
So... he keeps on talking about the stuff that he wants, and Buck doesn't know what he's after and stuff. But then I was like, I guess the jig is up because they found the will, and clearly Buck is going to be able to realize that that is what Skint is looking for. But
yeah, I was like, well, I guess that's the end. There's part 3's just blank space.
we just
like,
go right
it's
to the
just
police
static.
station, yeah.
Because
And
he was just like, we gotta find the will, and it's like, ba-da-da-da-da-da. Buck finds the will, and Mr. Skint isn't there.
so, but here's the thing, though. They're like, this is like a ridiculous amount of money that you have now, Buck. But now that we know that it's all of stuff that was like scammed and conned that's being given to Buck, I'm sure he's gonna try and return all of it to the people from whom it was originally bamboozled.
It
He's not gonna
turns
keep
out
any of it.
that, like, Penny's just pranking them, and she just painted that on the painting instead, like on
She's
the laminate.
such a good painter.
She's just such a prankster. And then they're just like, oh my gosh, Buck, you're rich and answers all that. She's like, aha, I got you. Punked.
Leaves at the top of the tree taste the best. Ugh, still got it.
And then she just takes like a paint remover bucket and she just like upturns it on the well, and it just all disappears.
Uh-huh. And then she sees they see what's actually inside the laminate.
And it's just a picture.
It's just a picture Buck drew when he was 5. It's just like a crayon
I
drawing.
think you were saying it was just like a picture of Penny flipping him off or something like that.
She went back in time and laminated it, and
I
then had
told you
Dolly
she's
paint
Buck's
some of it.
mom.
And oh yeah.
She's playing the long con.
Oh yeah, that's the last thing. So Skint mentioned it.
Penny's becoming my favorite character because of this theory.
Skint.
No, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I need an episode that is Penny and Wellington just pulling pranks on people for like an entire album. I need it.
Yeah, so Skint mentioned it, and as you were saying just now, like with the long con, so I checked again and like looked a little more at like the definitions of what does the long end mean. And yeah, so it basically is like it's the big payoff at the end of a really long investment that you've sat on for a really long time. Like it's like a technical term for the term in an investment equation for like the curve of like return on investment over the length of time.
Yeah, we did our research.
So we were right about what we thought last time. So it makes sense that it's like Mr. Skint has been investing
Plus he
and
directly
waiting
said it.
this whole time, yeah, in order to get like the big one.
When he said his definition, I was like, wait, so did we look at the wrong one? But from what you're saying, it's
correct,
just both.
yes.
So this episode was so good. Just like, especially that conversation between Skint and Buck. It had like so much tension. And I was just like freaking out the entire time. And like this stuff with Buck and Jules was so sweet. And it really shows like how much character development they've had. It's a lot like Connie in like Connie part 1 and 2, or Eugene, like, I don't know, at various points, or Aubrey when she got in Novacom and stuff.
When Buck kept talking to Skint about like, you wouldn't do that, and you always say like, don't work with violent people and stuff like that, I could never tell exactly how much of it was like him actually chiding Mr. Skint for things that he thought he believed, and how much of it is him trying to like play slightly naive to like play Skint's game so that he can turn it around on him.
He was definitely messing with him.
I know he was, but I couldn't always tell exactly how much of that was that, and how much was him like genuinely speaking to the person who raised him for most of his life.
I think a lot of it was him like
feeling out the situation.
Yeah, trying to figure out what was going on and just like get a vibe for and also like getting a lot of information on like what their next move is going to be, but also it has like an emotional like sincerity behind it too, that like this is the guy that raised him and he's seeing him after all this time, and like the line where he's just like, you can come with me, like I'll pretend to kidnap you and stuff. And I was thinking back to like how devastated Buck was that Mr. Skint didn't come bail him out, or like when Buck was talking with Katrina and like he stayed and he like set Katrina go, and or like he let her go, you set her free, and then he was like, oh, Mr. Skint's gonna come back for me, and I was just like, oh, if this was like Green Ring Buck, he immediately would have taken that offer, but like everything he's been through.
So here's
he's
the
not
million
gonna-
dollar question,
If
Victoria.
you're gonna
perhaps
propose
literally.
that Buck leaves after
No,
this
no,
album,
no,
I'm
no, no,
gonna
no.
fight you.
No, of course not. But here's the literal million dollar question. Do you think Buck is feeling any like legitimate temptation to
Yes.
take up the offer for his parents?
Yes.
So I would have said no because of what it would do to Eugene and Katrina, except for like after the
that
conversation that he had with Jules.
was
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
And
I
I think
still think he's going to become a
I think it's
Christian
small
either
enough
in part
that
3 or very soon.
Buck might not have even known that temptation would actually legitimately be there until it came up in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I
I'm
want my
scared
money, boy.
because that's why I'm scared of the fact that he didn't tell them what's going on, because he's still keeping the option
He's
open
like
that he might take that
figuring
up.
out what's going on.
And I don't want to doubt him like that, but
I don't doubt him.
I know he'll do the right thing
the
in the
thing
end,
is,
but
I
how much
like-
pain are we going to experience along the way
We're
is the
gonna
question.
feel so much pain. This is Paul writing this, and he knows how to pull on his heartstrings. So I doubted Buck once, and I'm not gonna do it again. And it was with Ties That Bind, when he like set up the trap with Dion and stuff like that,
Yep.
and everything that was going on with Vance.
in
Vance.
album 59.
Vince?
Yes.
Vance?
Vince King is his dad.
I want to say Lance, but it's not Lance. Too much
Uh-huh.
Evo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Rabo.
Vance.
That's Connie
It's Vance,
and
right?
Vance ship
Yeah.
as clans.
Ugh. Ugh. What? So like yeah, he had all that stuff going on, and he was able to like pull it off. And didn't he have like Full House come in or something like that, or just like someone come in and get them?
So long, something like that.
Like I think he had Full House like come in.
As soon
around
as
then
Buck
or
shows
something
up, Full
like that.
House turns into like J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh my gosh, that's like the best analogy. I'm hoping after this 3-parter, either Full House starts getting nicer to Buck and starts believing in him more, because
Why were they born in the same hospital?
We've actually.
What does it mean?
We've like we can see developments with him and Wally.
Because I
Because the
made
thing is, like,
yes.
he actually believes Wally. He was like a little like, what was he doing here?
And
in
I
this place?
said-
But he wasn't like hostile to him, and that was really
He
great.
was
So,
pretty
like,
hostile.
Why? I mean,
I said like
less hostile than he could have
Yeah.
been.
I said like,
But, like,
4
he's
years
still
ago
so mean to Buck.
that Full House was Buck's grandfather, and
What if that toy was Buck's toy? That doesn't make any sense at all.
what if Buck is the kid who died in the hospital?
Could have been.
And everyone's just seeing his ghost this whole time.
It's like a John Mulaney bit the whole time in disguise.
Buck's been dead for 1 album.
Skint was the person who died. Buck, or was it something? I can't remember the whole quote.
And I saw Mr. Skink coming at me, so I reached and grabbed my money clip. Go fetch.
I mean, he would. That's what he wants. He wants the money. Eugene Full House is like, so I grabbed my money clip, and it's just Buck tied up, and he's like, go fetch. Go be bait.
Okay, so that was part 2. How long has this been? Like an hour? Oh my goodness, yes, it has been.
Dolly Tender.
Blew my mind.
Blew my mind.
That's like callback.
You need Skint and Maury to fight each other.
Maury's gonna be the hero of the lesson.
I know, that's the thing.
What if he has dirt on like Felicia and Skint and
Maury?
Dolly? Yeah, and Novus.
He has dirt on everyone.
Exactly. So what if that's how he takes Skint down?
I didn't think Maury would be the one taking Skin down, but I can't say he won't. I haven't listened to part 3, and it doesn't seem beyond him. I need Maury episodes now. When was the last? Was the last one the one about the money and Olivia?
Yes.
Like, it's... How long has it been? Like, the album before this one?
Was that last album? I think that was last album.
I think it was last album. I feel like it's every two...
every
it seems to be every second
other one.
album we get...
So it's like one episode a year.
More development, and like...
We get more development.
I need more than that.
I know.
I
need more
than one episode per album year.
Yeah, per year. Okay.
At least put him in the OAC. Have him, I don't know, burn down a hospital.
Have him fight Renee.
He burned down the hospital. Have that episode where he burns down the hospital in the OAC.
So.
Have him fight Renee. That's a great idea, Devin. I would love to see that. So, part 3. Oh, that'd be so good, because she's like, oh, how'd you like to see... That's my Scottish accent.
Yeah.
How'd you...
Go on.
How'd you like to see your life ripped away from you? It turns out it's all an illusion. He realizes he's been in the imagination station.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she was a moonshadow elf.
Ever since he first came to Odyssey, and it's just been... Or Stream of Consequence, actually. And because that's the one that scars people more.
That's the present tense one. So.
And so it was like, this is what will happen if you're a jerk to everyone and you scam everyone for all these different ways.
Yeah.
And you're gonna like lose your sister,
and
everyone in school will hate you.
Sounds good to me.
He's like, that sounds like a great idea. And Renee's like, oh no, don't.
Thank you for laying out such specific instructions for me. This is going to be so convenient. Now I have to kill you so you can't tell anyone.
I should dub an Odyssey episode, just a battle between Renee and Maury. I'll lose my voice like 50 times within the first 2 minutes, but it will kind of
Your Maury voice is turning into like Michael being Yang.
Maybe that's the intention.
Okay, so we have to talk about part 3.
Yeah, predictions. Reading predictions?
Oh, yes, I guess we should. What do you think is going to happen? We've kind of brushed on it intermittently, but...
I think Buck is laying out a trap, but I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. I feel like it will work, but it's going to be really sad, and Eugene and Katrina are going to have to comfort him. It's going to be really emotional.
I think that...
Stuff. Mr. Skin's finally going to get caught. He's going to go to jail.
Well, yeah. I think that he has a plan, and it is not going to work. And it's going to go south for him because he didn't tell anyone about the plan, because he was trying to keep his options open on whether or not he was going to go Skin until the last possible second, because he doesn't tell anyone. Skin's going to, like, take him and almost get away with him, and then he's going to get rescued by everyone.
Monty!
Jules is going to come in and, like, flying Hainer kick
Monty
Mr. Skin.
is going to do something. Yeah, she's going to do her Hainer kick.
Yeah.
And he's going to just catch her leg and just yeet her at a brick wall.
Not that part. Not
that part of the fight. Okay.
Yeah.
The best thing about that fight...
I haven't seen the rest of the cutscene.
The best thing about that fight is that Hainer won that fight.
I know.
I'm never going to get over that. That was the most astounding thing in the entire game. Won that fight a lot faster
than you did, tell you that.
Shut up. When I played Chain of Memories and it took me 10 years to beat Ansem. And now I'm going to have to play it on hardest difficulty. Like, I cannot do that. It's gonna suck.
So, I feel like there's something there with Full House, and I don't like, in terms of the birth thing, I feel like that is actually something. Legitimately, I don't think...
He's Star Wars man, but he lost his memory.
I don't think it will happen in this next episode. I think it'll happen somewhere down the line, but I think that was a seed that was planted with intent.
I think Wellington's gonna bust in and be like, no one runs money scams on my watch, and then he Hainer kicks.
I think Penny is still gonna have at least one more cool moment.
Penny is the MVP of this 3-parter in my mind. She's just.
I think Whit is not going to show up. I think Monty and Buck are probably going to have like a long talk. I'm glad that
the long end is just going to be the last. It's going to be like 6 minutes of conflict. Last 15 minutes is just going to be Buck and Monty talking and figuring out all their stuff.
I'm glad at least because Monty was like, oh, I can't tell Buck about these things because it'll put him in danger and also it'll break his heart about how his parents were bad guys. And as soon as like Buck looks at his birth certificate, he's like, oh, my parents were evil for sure. Like, he already knows, so that's good. There's no disillusionment to
Buck,
worry about.
I think your parents are con artists, and he's just like, well, duh, these are fake names, idiot.
Yeah, these are the worst faces I've ever been seeing.
I love one money boy. I love him, but yeah.
Buck, your parents were con artists. I mean, if you could call it that, like, I don't know. This is barely passing the bar right here.
I could have done so much better, and I have at age 6.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Okay, part 3. Let's cut to... Do you remember, like, our review of life expectancy? Because we recorded, like, the interim stuff as we were listening to each part. And so, like, our emotions changed drastically in between every interstitial.
I was crying in part 1, and part 2 I was losing my mind because Jeff Lewis. And part 3 we were still freaking out because Jeff Lewis.
But also crying more again.
Yeah, and then like every episode for the next 2 years we were freaking out because of Jeff Lewis.
And I'm just picturing that as soon as we cut to the next part, we're going to be freaking out about something that we can't even conceive of at this point.
Yeah,
so let's cut to that right now. We're back. It has been like a month since we recorded the first half of this episode.
Do you have something to say to me?
No, it's just weird because normally we have gaps between episodes, but we don't usually have this large of a gap like in the middle of a video.
I mean, sometimes we do.
Not usually.
Sometimes we do.
Yeah, that's not what not usually means. Part 3 of the long end. End of the album. End of a lot of things. Maybe. Or maybe not. The end. Question mark.
Me? Did this episode kill me? Did this episode
Are you a spoopy ghost?
Always. But that's unrelated. I was before.
Episode 861, written by Paul McCusker, as were the other parts. This episode, so we start out with the last episode ended. It's been like a month since I've listened to it, and I've heard it multiple times, but it's just been that long.
I've only heard it once. Whoopsie. Whoops.
That is a whoops, yeah.
Whoopsie. I was actually doing things today, like working on essays.
So, we end the last episode with the discovery of the will, and we pick up this episode. They're like, hey, we now know, clearly, what Skint is up to. We get the hint that there's going to be some sort of collaboration going on between, like, Monty and Jason and the Meltzers and Buck and whatnot. And then we see Skint put his plan into action. Things happen. Skint shows up. Eugene and Katrina are taken hostage. Maybe. Question mark.
They were taken hostage by...
Skint.
No, by Money Boy. Like, they were watched by... Not Money Boy, evil Money Boy.
That is the thing I've been waiting so long to tell you about, Victoria.
What?
He's, like, the only character in this episode, in this whole 3-parter, that I didn't know who's played by. I didn't recognize the voice at all. And it wasn't until I was re-listening. I'd re-listened to the entire thing, and during the credits on part 3, after hearing his name in the credits for the 6th time, my ears finally picked up, and I was like, wait a minute, rewind. Did Chris say Zach Callison is in this episode?
Wait.
And I go back, and I'm like, that can't be right.
Wait.
And so I check AIOO Wiki, and sure enough, 2-Bits Luker is played by our dear Zachary Callison back from the grave.
Wait, does that mean he can't come back for anything else?
Fresh off of season 5 of Steven Universe. Wait. Or was it season 6? It was season 5, right?
I feel bad we didn't know that was him.
I couldn't believe it, that I didn't realize after listening to through 6 episodes, and he was in the credits 6 times before I was finally like, wait a minute, what did Chris just say? Because I recognize every other name, and I was like, did she say Zach? And yep, sure
Zach
enough,
died. We all know. He's back from the grave. Like Superman.
Hiatus Singh waiting for fall when the Steven Universe movie comes out. Dear Zir Zachary came back for the long end.
My boy.
It's very exciting. I was so stoked. And I have had to wait so
Is that
long.
That thing you told me forever about?
To tell you.
There's something I have to tell you, but I want to see your reaction. Yeah. I'm like, just tell me.
I've waited so long to tell you about this.
Yeah, it's because I knew it would be a while before we could record because I was so busy, so I just wanted you to tell me. So I have the reaction you wanted me to.
Yeah, it was okay. You had a reaction, which is better than no reaction. It's crazy.
It's the boy. This means anything can happen. Anything can happen.
When you're part of a team.
No, it's the song from Mary Poppins Returns. Or is it the musical?
It's not from Mary Poppins Returns.
That's from the musical.
So, the catch Skint goes into the bank, and then they close the safety deposit box room, the vault, whatever, and then he's like, gotcha! Then Ashton Kutcher pops out of the foliage. He pops out of the bank ficus, and he's like, you just got.
I'm never gonna forget waiting for, I don't know, like 2 weeks.
And then Felicia's
like
alive.
That. 2 weeks with like this countdown screen on my laptop in high school that I kept that tab open for like those solid 2 weeks just watching it count down. Sometimes I just did nothing but stare at the countdown that Alex Hirsch made with like the laptop on it. And then I like never exited the tab because it would keep counting down if I lost Wi-Fi. And I needed to know what time it was at all times for those 2 weeks because I'm obsessed. And then like the time ended, and I guess because I had it open for so long, it didn't work for me properly. It just went to a black screen, and I was like, oh, that was uneventful, and then I watched the episode, and then I found out for everyone else, it just like something started loading like little bit by bit, and it was just like Kurt pranked. And then the episode had that bit, and it was just like, are we on Kurt prank? It's like, you just got Kurt pranked! And they busted up plants, and I was so angry.
I was wondering where this story was going.
I was cleaning through my bookmark.
I didn't remember what the end of the laptop countdown timer was.
I was cleaning up my bookmarks like a couple months ago, and then I was like, what's this one? Is this a virus? It's just a bunch of numbers for like the website name. I clicked on it and it started loading. I was like, what? It was just like Kurt pranked. I thought
you meant physical bookmarks. I was like, did you make a bookmark out of the laptop countdown?
Yes.
It's
just my tears.
I was actually just thinking about Gravity Falls ripoff brands not like an hour ago because I was watching the new On the Spot and they said, don't stop believing, and I thought they said don't start believing, and then I was thinking about don't start unbelieving.
Don't start unbelieving. And then there's like there's like a Kesha parody in there too.
Yeah. Ampersandra.
Yeah, it was so good in the song.
That.
The song
Anyways,
it was a pun too.
Skint. The episode starts, and I'm like, okay. Our big question on the end of last time's review, a couple minutes ago, more than a couple minutes ago, because we've been talking for a while. Things.
Go watch Gravity Falls.
Is Buck going to come up with his own plan to foil Skint and not tell anyone else about it, and then get in trouble because he didn't rely on the power of friendship and teamwork?
Yeah, and we said that it was kind of like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, or is he gonna like collaborate? I figured it was less than that. I figured the chances were good. He was not gonna tell anyone, try and go it his own way. I had genuinely no idea. I figured it was like either option was pretty viable. He cooperated. I'm so proud of him. He's learning. He's come so far. So
he told other people about his plans.
But it's one of those things, obviously, like, we don't know what's going on.
Zachary Carlson gets dunked, and then they're just like, you got Kurt pranked! And then Monty, like, physically fights wait, is
an adult
money,
man.
Is money, the evil money man?
Yeah.
Money. You got money man and money boy.
He's not money man though.
Is money man like? He's an adult, isn't he? How old is Zach? I thought he was a teenager.
He is.
Why is he playing an adult?
You were convinced. So was I.
I mean, yeah, but that's not the point. That's just weird, though.
He can do that. He can do Steven. 2-Bit Luker doesn't sound like Steven, I must say.
That is very
It's
true.
almost like he's a voice actor.
It's almost like he's good at his craft and versatile.
Skint starts weaving his web, starts putting his balls into motion, and they start, like, outplaying him immediately. I was very excited, and I was like, but is this what Skint is already planning for? Who knows what's happening? We found out that Harlingville is only 3 hours away, and then I learned on the re-listen that they actually said that in the first episode. I'm surprised we've never heard of it before, if it's that close.
There's, like, so many new things.
I know.
Geographically, since the
There's
hiatus.
a lot going on. But I'm still so excited about the Trickle Lake
thing. I feel
the
like
Trickle Lake thing was amazing.
We can't go, like, a couple episodes without just, like, do you know there was a 50-foot
the abandoned doll factory
amusement park in the middle of Wits End? And I'm like, you don't say.
So, yeah, fairly early on to the episode, I was like, okay, so it is pretty clear that, like, Skint is not actually Buck's father, and this is just like a Pearl
honestly,
snake
like,
kind of thing.
I'm glad. I kind of like how it has, like, the sense of anonymity. Is that the right one?
I don't know what you're talking about, so maybe.
Like, Buck, we don't really know that much about his parents. Like, we know their names, and we know that they're con artists.
Well, we don't really know their names.
Well,
we know their most common
we know
aliases.
Their aliases. But, like, I like that we don't really know about them. It's kind of like the Ray thing, where it's just like, this isn't the most important thing going on right now, so we don't need to know.
Every time you said Ray tonight, I thought you were talking about Ray Narvaez Jr.
No, I've been talking about the same Ray every single time. It's always Star Wars.
All two of the times. So yeah, Mr. Skint, Buck ties up Eugene and Katrina, duct tapes them, which I'm sure was a very uncomfortably familiar experience for Katrina.
I'm sure he did it pretty loose.
I was surprised he didn't just, like, do it so they could, like, bust out or whatever. I don't know if Mr. Skint checked, because he was like, don't do any tricks, my boy.
I mean, he was, like, watching, so he probably just did it normal. Yeah, but like...
probably behind him.
Jason and Monty were, like, in the closet or whatever.
Yeah, but we didn't know where they were, and I do want to try and figure out how this plan was formed, because it is kind of confusing.
It was confusing.
The series of events, how this could have gone down.
I'm okay with that.
So they're going to Harlanville, and I'm like, clearly, it's a trap for Skint.
It's a trap.
And then it was. They laid a trap all the way out in Harlanville at the bank, and they locked him in there, and then Monty was already there, and he was like, ha ha ha, it's me.
Oh, that was so good. And Mr. Skint's like, I have no idea who you are. I've never seen you before. He's like, no, it's me, Monty. And he's like, I've never met someone named Monty before. He's like, I've been following you for like 10 albums. And he was like, I'm sorry, and I was like dying. It was like, a good joke. It was like Lex Luthor when he changes bodies with the Flash. And or he like takes off his mask, he sees Barry's face, and he's like, I have no idea who this is.
Or like the very first episode of Kim Possible, when she doesn't know who Draken is.
Oh yeah, and he's just like, I'm your arch nemesis. She's like, I've never seen you before in my life.
It all turned out way better than I could have hoped. And
same.
Buck got to scratch his con itch by surpassing his master. Very similar to, like, when Jason gets to do spy things, and that's what, like, sates the heroin monkey on his back that keeps him from going back to the NSA.
One of these days, Tosh is gonna appear, and he's just gonna, like, fall over like a turtle on its back. He's not gonna be able to get back up. He's just because
he's so old.
He's really, not gonna know what to do. He's so old now.
He's so bad at lying now.
He's just so bad at everything now. It's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing.
So, the final plot twist of the episode, which I was like, yes, is that Felicia was alive the whole time. Dang, witness protection. Does no one really die on this show?
The plot twist is she was alive and she was also hidden in the mirror.
Yeah. I was like, it's Connie's grandma and witness protection too.
I hope so.
There's nothing sacred.
Tunes and witness protect every character you've ever loved.
Connie goes to visit Mitch's sister again, and she's like, Connie, your mom is alive.
That's where Tom is. That's where Agnes is. That's where Justine is.
Is that what, like...
Justine's death is meaningless in Nomicom now.
Is that what, like, the farm is in Odyssey? Like, oh, yeah. No, your hamster didn't get sick and died. It just went and joined the witness protection program. Oh.
Connie's crying on the radio, and they're like, what's wrong? She's like, my hamster is dead.
Do you think that's what, like, Jared told Trent when, like, their goldfish died? Is it just join the witness protection program?
You know what the thing is? Trent probably believed it. You know what the better thing is? Jared probably believed it too.
No, but then the sad thing is when they actually did join the witness protection program and Trent tried to find his goldfish, and then Jared had to tell him the truth.
Goes up to the agent, he's like, I'm on to you. And the agent's like, yeah, okay, kid. Honestly,
I'm so glad we never got to see what that looked like.
What, them being taken by the witness protection
Just like
program?
Jared's interactions with with like FBI agents.
I feel like anything they give me could never live up to what plays out in my head for it.
That's fair.
Like, honestly, part of me is heartbroken that I'll probably never get to see Jared again. Another part of me is just like, yeah, but that leaves so much opportunity.
So
what
much
is he
fanfics.
doing? How long did it take him to join the Illuminati? Has he actually been the leader of the Illuminati this whole time? I bet Jared's favorite movie was,
this.
Like, National Treasure.
Remember this. If you write a fanfic about what Jared is doing now and all the conspiracy theories he's getting into, you will be a Hugo Award nominated author.
It's true. I do have an AO3 account.
Because you didn't know that you could comment as a guest.
Yeah. I don't regret it. I can make folders now and put things in my folders. It's useful.
It just feels weird to have an account on things where you don't create content. Like, I know for YouTube you have to do that to content or to comment.
I have content on YouTube.
I know. I'm not saying you don't.
Videos.
I'm just saying lots of people don't have any videos on the channel. They just have a YouTube account, like, to comment and, like, things and whatnot. Yeah. And that feel like, I get that you have to do that for YouTube, but it feels weird to me on things like AO3.
Google Plus accounts and...
That's true.
Let's stop.
Like, that's why I don't have Instagram, because I don't have photos to post. I just be following other people. It doesn't stop me from...
on so many things that sometimes I, like, log onto a website and they're like, hey, we remember you. I'm like, I don't remember
have no memory of this
ever
place.
Making an account.
Yeah, the little Gandalf meme. So, Buck opens the safety deposit box. He's got himself some fireworks. It's the album art. Hopefully that means that Skint is not actually hiding in the bushes, though, like he is in the album art.
Maybe that was just a really weird tree decoration.
Maybe it's like Snow White, and it's just a tree that had a face that looked a lot like Mr. Skint.
It could be. Honestly, rewatching Snow White, that bit in the forest was terrifying. At one point, she ran into, like, this kind of, like, clearing-y area, and then just, like, the ground dropped and she fell through all these vines. It was like an oubliette in the labyrinth or something like that. There were so many vines.
Or an oubliette in general.
Yeah, I was just like worried she was gonna get Claytoned. I was like, I don't remember this in Snow White. And then she just like smashed on the ground and she started crying and all these animals came up to her and she was like, oh, I'm not sad, I'm not in pain. And then I was just like, girl, are your bones broken? Oh my gosh, I was so worried.
Not gonna be Snow White for long. It'd be like
she was
the
black
purple
and blue and not white.
Yeah. Well, the white is the scar tissue that forms, I guess.
Oh, I felt so bad for her.
So, as we predicted last time, Buck gave up his entire trust fund so that he could return the assets to the original owners.
Good boy. Good boy. And
then I was waiting for it right as Buck lights the fuse on this firework. His social worker swoops in again for a surprise inspection.
Hey guys, I just wanted to see. Oh my gosh. It's not what it looks like, I swear.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We're just celebrating the fact that we had a plan where we got Buck kidnapped by his former guardian and criminal, where he drove him hours away while Buck duct taped us to some chairs and gagged us so that he could lure the guy into a bank while he was working on a scheme that he came up with to help the FBI catch a super wanted criminal.
Mr. Meltzner, I'm calling the police. And Jason comes, he's like, I am the police, and then he's like,
I'm
falls,
low.
and he's like, oh, my hip, and then he can't get up. I want our new running joke to just be Jason is a failure and very old.
It's not a joke, though.
I know, that's the best thing about it.
Okay, so, as I was saying before, on re-listen, I was trying to put together the pieces of what the series of events happened that we didn't get.
Okay.
So, because I can't quite tell exactly how they had enough time to organize their plan, I have a theory, but I want to try and put it together.
They were at Penny's.
So, listen.
And...
So, Monty didn't know that Skint was after the inheritance until he phoned Eugene, because we hear him, like, he phones Eugene,
yeah,
and then it basically, like, cuts away until Skint arrives and the plan rolls into action. So we know Monty talked to Eugene, but we don't know about what. And then, like, things get going.
Was Buck home then?
Yeah.
Eugene could have put him on speaker. And...
So here's the only explanation, basically, I come up with. Monty didn't know that Skint was after the inheritance until he phoned Eugene. And we don't know if Eugene knew that Skint was in town until talking to Monty. Like, we don't know if Buck had already told Eugene about that. But he probably did. So...
You know what probably happened? Buck just, like, walked through the door. He's like, hi, guys, I'm home. And then he heard... But, like, Eugene in the kitchen, he's like, Mr. Skint! And Buck's like, I'll tell you everything! And then he just, like...
So here's the crazy thing about how fast this had to happen is Monty phoned Eugene after 2-Bits was already in his car chase, after he'd already come to the antique gallery and left and was already car chasing around town, a car chase that had to end at the Meltzner's house, taking them captive.
Yeah.
And as that was already happening is when Monty and Eugene are talking for the first time. So that's why it's crazy that this all apparently fell into place so fast. So Eugene tells Monty, who he just learned is back in town, that they have Buck's birth certificate and Dolly's will, which will be collected at the Harlanville Bank, and that Skint has already approached Buck, trying to trick him out of it, and that Skint thinks that Buck is possibly tentatively on his side, because Buck already told Eugene and Katrina this much, we have to assume. So Eugene thinks that Buck will meet with Skint that night, but Monty tells them that Skint must already be on his way over there right now because 2-Bits is already running interference with the police chase. So presumably Buck then, Eugene conferencing Buck in on this, would have had to come up with the bank trap, which means that since it doesn't sound like he'd already talked to Monty directly before this, he'd already come up with the plan and told Eugene and Katrina about it, and then they planned to later call the police and organize it since they thought that they had until that evening, so they had time to do that. And then when Monty said that Skint was imminent, Eugene communicated the plan to Monty, which allowed Monty to commence the setup and start driving the 3 hours to Harlanville for optimal gloating position, which kind of backfired on him.
He speeded.
Monty tells Eugene and Katrina what is likely going to happen to them, so he can allow his subordinates to close in on dear Zachary Callison, since his part of the plan was done. And Eugene tells Buck and Katrina what's happening, and Buck knows that the police will have the trap ready, waiting for him once Skint gets to him in Harlanville. Done. Checkmate.
That was so many words, and I zoned out so many times.
See, it's like really a stretch to figure out how it goes, because Buck had to know, because Eugene, because clearly Buck had to come up with the plan, right? Because it wouldn't make any sense narratively if it wasn't Buck's idea this whole way. Because he's like, only I could outsmart you, was like the whole point of it.
Why couldn't Buck have started coming up with the plan, like, when he was in the car with Skint?
He could have, but I'm saying he would have had to already told Eugene and Katrina about it, and then Eugene told Monty about it, and then Eugene told Buck that Monty knew about it, because if Buck didn't, because when Skint arrives, if Buck didn't know that the police already knew about it, then when he sent him into the bank, he would have had no reason to believe that the guards are going to lock the door on him and the police are going to be there. So Buck had to know that the police were already going to use his plan he'd come up with, even though he hadn't been told that, as far as we knew before, so we have to assume that he was. So it's like, it's a whole bunch of things. It's a little bit cumbersome. And by a little, I mean a lot.
Don't start
but as far as I can tell, that all makes sense and is maybe the only way that it does.
I liked this 3-parter a lot.
I did.
Buck's come so far. I'm very proud of him. There's just so many characters in media lately that it's just like I'm very proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so it
like
happens
everyone,
when you get older.
Yeah.
Yeah, they either get much prouder or much more frustrated with characters.
It's because
being a parent is.
It's because of Jenny's unconditional love line.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's very good.
It's good.
Yeah, this 3-parter did such a good job at like bringing back a number of elements from the Green Conspiracy and from Buck's development since then, and bringing in like characters who haven't been here since, like Skint, where they're like, you know, their presence is conditional upon the content, you know, just like we were talking about recently about like how Richard Maxwell can only be there if it's Blackguard associated, stuff like that. Like Skint can only be there because of that, but also bringing in people who are tangentially associated with it, like Penny and like Pole House, who are also there. I'm glad that Jules got in on the action a little bit. And the one new character that they introduced was bringing Zach Callison back.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was very cool. I'm glad that I found out about that.
I know
and then
that he's Zach Callison.
Shortly after I found out, JB messaged me and he's like, "Hey, did you know Zach?" I was like, "Yes." Also, if Victoria still doesn't know, shh, I can't wait to tell her.
I was gonna say a thing. Oh yeah, I want in the future Monty to have a lot of appearances, but like he only appears when he's chasing down bad guys, and every single time he gets the bad guy doesn't know who he is.
Yeah,
and he's just very
in fairness, all the time. You know, that is, I guess, better for someone who habitually works undercover than the alternative.
But you know what I want to happen?
What?
Jason's nearby too, and every time they're like, "That's Jason Whittaker," and Monty's like, "Come on, are you serious?"
Now that is humor.
Yeah, because like that's what happened here. They're like, "Oh, it's the stiletto.
Come on, yeah.
He can't possibly actually be having an antique job. He has to be undercover. Such deep cover."
Yeah. Because
like, I don't know who you are.
We have to be so scared of him because we think he's a cop, a normal cop who is in a years-long undercover gig as like one of the highest like mafia bosses in the world.
Hey, Jake Peralta did. That's how one of the seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine starts and ends, with Jake doing that.
Well, touche, Victoria.
Yeah!
You got me there. That is entirely valid.
Yeah. I won! Anything else you want to argue?
I just think it's funny that they're so scared of Jason because they're like, he's an undercover cop. And I just want to see their reactions when they find out he's like an NSA agent who's also worked with like Interpol and MI5 and stuff like that. They're so seriously
There's two types of reactions. So, like, they stay the same in that situation, but it, like, jump cuts to
Clearly,
Jason.
they never heard Rusty's broadcast on Crime Ride.
And it, like, cuts away, and then it's just, like, people listing all of Jason's qualifications and, like, all the crazy things he's done. Alternative, take 2, it cuts to Jason, and he's, like, leaning down to pick something he knocked off a counter, and he's like, "Oh, my back!" And then he, like, collapses on the ground.
Jason, at this point, is like the SpongeBob episode when they're selling chocolate, and he's the old lady, and they're like, "Can we speak to your mother?" And then Whit comes wheeling out a shriveled
I thought you were going to say the shriveled one was Jason.
No, that wouldn't make sense.
The old lady was
because Jason
Monty.
is already really old. But his dad's still around, too, and he's even older.
I was gonna say,
Jason's the youngest, too. There's a big age gap between Whit and Jason.
Man, if Jana appears, she's gonna be so old. It's a good thing Jerry's dead, otherwise he'd be dead from old age.
How much time has passed since album 60? Jana's so much. Jana's so much older since her last appearance 3 years ago.
Marvin appears, like, he's gonna be in a wheelchair and have dentures. Like, everyone's so old now.
And just think, it was only like 2 albums since Ed appeared.
The water stopped working, it caught up with Jason, he doesn't know what to do now.
Yeah. They ran out of super fluoride at the waste management plant.
Connie hoarded all of it for herself.
Yeah.
So they don't know what to do. I was gonna say, I'm glad that Wit never appeared.
Yes.
On one hand, Jason's so old now, he kind of filled the qualifications.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it last time.
Yeah, I wanted to say it again, because I said there was a possibility of Wit maybe showing up to say hi to Monty at the end. But I
did think about that at the end. Like, Wit was completely not in this at all.
I did like a little fist bump when part 3 ended. I was like, woo, no Wit.
Get out of here, old man. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson?
How many times do we... It's me whenever I realize a plot can be carried without Wit being present. I'm like, how many times do you have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I do like it when people are like, they're like, let's write another think piece on whether Odyssey could survive without Wit. I'm like, he was gone for years.
I know. Every single time I see like a think piece on like, can Odyssey survive without this character? I'm like, the answer is yes. Because it
already happened. Because
there's at least one point in the series where one of the characters just is not present
except
for a while.
Connie.
Except for Connie. But
it's like when Americans are like, there's no way to fix gun control, and it's like every other country in the world does it. It's like the show's already done it. We know that it works. It's already happened before.
Open a history book. But it's
I don't want Wit to die, but it's like, I find it bizarre the way people go on, like, we just don't know what would happen without him.
And we're just sitting here, we're like, we do.
If only.
That's it. Man, it's
what a wild
like,
theoretical.
It's almost like they introduced an elderly character who tells a lot of Bible stories and is a Whittaker.
Yeah.
And a father figure to many, and completely carries plots on his own. I'm talking about Jason.
I thought you were talking about Jack, because Jack's part of the Whittaker family.
I was talking about Wilson. I
realized afterwards, I was like, oh, you are talking about Wilson. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Jack and Jason. I was like, Jack is a Whittaker.
Jack isn't in the show anymore.
I know, so but you said they introduced. I thought you were saying like when Wit originally went away. I was saying
like now, if Wit died, I think
Wilson would be Jack, because Wilson is already Jack.
Yeah, he would be the Jack.
They already pre-jacked this time. They're so
jacked
ready.
Jack.
They're kind of ominously ready, honestly.
Yeah, should I be concerned? Honestly,
now that we think about it,
Kathy, should I be worried? Do you guys have like a sniper rifle pointing at Andre Stoika's window? It's just like any moment, we're ready.
And Andre Stoika is so much younger than the previous Wits too.
They're so ready. They've been burned too many times. They're just ready to go at any moment.
Conversations gets really dark when you talk about it from the actor's perspective and not the characters.
Yeah. Okay. Wit. Wit. Yeah, we're talking about Wit.
It's Monica though, because she doesn't know who Wit is.
What about Monica?
Oh wait, she does know who it is. Never mind. She went to Odyssey. She's the one with the sniper rifle trained on Wit.
She's like, I'm
because she like ran. She drove into him in the post office parking lot.
Dude. Concept. Wit dies.
Wit starts dating Monica and not realizing about with Jason.
That would be so awkward. That would, you know what that'd be?
That is the plot of season 4 or 5 Arrested Development.
It's like pregnant by my boyfriend's father. Is Wit and Monica and Jason's relationship in a summary. But, you know I'm right.
I was gonna crawl into a hole and die now.
But you know I'm right, though, is the thing. I am right, aren't I?
Hey, Jason, you have a brother, surprise!
Got a boyfriend, but he doesn't kiss. Yeah. Monica shooting Wit is like hit or miss. Guess I never miss.
And Wit's. Let's just not even go there, honestly.
I was gonna
Let's get back to the episode.
No, I was gonna say Wit dies. Monica becomes the protagonist of Odyssey.
Woman inherits the earth.
What do you think? Monica, Jason, power.
Monica's
couple.
like, I'm your new dad now.
No. But Monica and I know her brother's name. It might take me a minute. No. Do you remember it?
Yes.
I know what it is.
It's not the same last name, as I'm sure you remember.
I want to say no.
It's Duncan Mathis.
I was like so off on so many notes.
I was like, we don't have time to sit here wait for you to figure it out.
I want Duncan to come back. I want Monica to come back. You know what? I want a Duncan and Monica and Jason spin-off.
Okay.
Points if Monty's there too, but no one knows who he is. He has to reintroduce himself to Monica every episode, and she forgets every episode.
Do you think Monty's ever had cases where he's like chasing down Monica and he doesn't know who she is?
Oh,
She's still
I
out
hope
there
so.
criming.
Do you think he sees Monica and he's like, she's really hot? And
What if she sees him and she's like, looks like Jason?
For me, Monica and like Jason's dynamic was really like Peter Parker, Felicia-y. And I think that's like the thing I really loved about it. It's just like, she's the cat that got away, but you wish she was in more content.
And then she didn't come back the very next day.
And then she's like, I had your kid. And Jason's like, that doesn't sound right. And she's like, pranked ya. And he's just like, yeah.
Spoiler.
He's like, I know you. That
Spoilers for
doesn't
the
make
thing
any
that you haven't played yet.
Yeah, spoilers for something I shouldn't know.
Yeah.
Too.
It was good DLC.
I know.
There's a lot of important story stuff that happened in the DLC that I'm sure will be relevant in the second game that I can't wait for.
Did they announce a second game?
I believe they have said a second game is being made because it was
didn't know that.
It was like one of the best selling games on the entire PS4's life cycle.
Well, it's like a given that there's gonna be a second one, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if they'd announced.
I believe they have and are in development of it.
Venom.
In the Spider-Man game or a Venom game separately?
I want Spider-Man 2 to be symbiote. I want someone
but
to
specifically with Venom.
I want someone to do it well in the way where more people will be able to experience the symbiote Spider-Man plot the way it should be experienced. And by that, I just want them to make a video game out of, like, that little Arc and Spectacular Spider-Man, because it was so perfect, and it was, like, you can actually line up the panels from the comic to the episode. It was so good.
The long end, I am going to give us all a 5 out of 5. Great job of bringing characters back. Great job at resolving plot lines. Some really good jokes. I really liked what they did with Penny and getting to, like, see her being like, you know, the technical, very knowledgeable scholar that she is, that we don't get to see a lot of, except in maybe like one sentence at a time in an episode.
I just realized something.
And also just all of the really funny lines she had dunking on that painting.
I just realized something.
What?
Penny might be the best female character we have in Odyssey right now.
It's hard to rank them.
Like the strongest character, because I feel like the
like
problem
the most
with
dynamic
Connie,
character, you mean?
No, I feel like the problem with Connie is too much happens. Like, it's very warbly with what's going on with her.
Like, she doesn't have like a clear kind of path and characterization that she's moving through.
I mean, like, sometimes she just seems a little too versatile. It's just like, oh, we need Connie to be this in this episode, so we're gonna have her be this. And then every single episode, she's like, oh, I have a new career profession. And she's been doing that for, like, she's been doing that for, like, 20 albums. She is a millennial,
so, you know.
Yeah, but she's been doing that for, like, 20 albums. And at this point, I'm kind of like, girl, get your life together. I'm not one to talk, but, like, she's older than me, so I can say this kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, I get, like, a part of her character is she doesn't know what she's doing, but after it's been so many albums, I feel like we just need to do something else with her character.
I can see where you're coming from. I mean, just in terms of not just plot, but, like, characterization, where it's like, I feel like some writers are like, this is where Connie's at right now, and then some other people are like, this is where I think Connie is at right now.
Yeah, it seems like some writers think she's, like, a little
Which I feel is, like, what a lot of characters are like.
Yeah, but I feel like she
Especially the
suffers
kid
from
character.
it.
I feel like the kid characters,
kid
it's a given
characters
that
have
they're
it
going to be all over the place
the
every
worst,
episode.
especially the Parker family.
Yeah.
That's why we've had so much. Well, at least
It's like,
I don't know
Camilla,
about
who
you.
are you?
Like that's why I've had so many problems with the Parkers.
That makes sense.
What's her? Renee's a little bit like this too, a teeny bit. I think Connie out of the adults has it the worst.
Renee gets a pass because she's only in the AIOC, and so by definition,
Renee gets a pass because so many people forget she exists on a constant basis.
Well, I mean,
she gets locked
Renee
in that closet.
Being stuck in the AIOC by definition is like exclusively serialized or episodic.
Yeah,
content.
but she was mentioned in an album once.
She was. Her name was said. Yeah, but that doesn't say anything about her character. Connie just said she saw her on the street.
Yeah, but
we know that she walks. That's characterization.
I mean, that's the most characterization
We're going the M. Night Shyamalan route of characters.
Remember that guy?
We saw them walking.
Only like exercises with one arm, so he's one really buff arm, and
the
one
pool,
other's
in
just
the
like
pool
normal.
ghost movie.
Yeah, Lady in the Water.
Yeah.
And they have like Snarflax and Stoogles in that movie, and they fight the lady water woman, but they're bushes that chase. Yeah, they're bushes that chase.
What time are we at in this video? Okay.
And then there's the eagles that pick her up at the end, like it's Lord of the Rings. The movie just ends. That movie's weird.
The Deus Ex Hawkiness, as I used to call them.
No.
It's so good.
No. You know what frustrated me?
What?
People told me the Eagles weren't in Lord of the Rings, and that's a lie.
What, in the movies or in the books?
In the books. They're in the books.
Okay.
They're in, like, all the books. It's just, they're, like, really snobby.
In the back of every scene.
The thing is, they establish in the books,
I know, I remember,
movies,
yes.
that they're snobs, so they never want to help, and that's why they never do.
I know.
I wish they
That was
said
very
that in the
good
movies.
reasoning.
It's
Good job,
like
JR.
C.S. Lewis is reading this, and he's like, what is this crap? he, like, I don't know, telegraphs.
Yeah.
Like, Tolkien, and he's just like, you're so bad at writing, and Tolkien telegraphs him back. He's like, well, you're bad at writing too. And he's like,
telegraph.
And Tolkien's like, P.S. I made you a tree because I hate you.
Yeah.
What a good friendship.
Yeah. That's just what authors are like.
You're not a character.
I know, I'm just saying in general.
I do have a sibling dynamic that I semi-based off of us, but that's it.
Who's sibling dynamic?
Everett and Chris.
Oh, okay.
By that, I mean they're siblings and they don't hate each other.
Ah.
That's as based off as it gets.
Wait, which one am I?
Neither.
Okay, good. I mean, I'd be fine with being Chris. I just want to make sure that I wasn't Everett.
Trust me, I'm way more Everett than you're Everett.
Okay, good.
I'm like...
Good for me.
You know, I mean, I'm way more Chris than you're Chris. You know, like...
So I'm neither of them. It's your relationship
you're
with yourself.
Neither of them. It's just me being a narcissist.
Uh-huh.
In fact, yeah, I've come to the conclusion that, like, everything I write is me being a narcissist because it's like I have the world's biggest Kit Kat and I just break off all the pieces
for yourself.
I'm like, this one is Shaq's, this one is M, this one's Everett,
and you're
and
the
this
Kit
one
Kat?
is Chris. I'm just... Me as a whole is the unbroken Kit Kat.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'm just like, this personality
That
trait.
sounds painful.
This one. This
Writing
one,
is pain.
This one. Writing is pain. I've cried while writing and killing off characters.
So let's talk. Do you have anything more to say about The Long End before we talk about the album?
Yeah, I really liked it. Penny was so good. Penny's like rising to maybe my favorite female character in the show, especially after like Much Ado About Odyssey and this. Like those, I'd say
she was so good at Much Ado About Jealousy.
I'd
But we're
say
talking about that jealousy.
yeah.
Much Ado About Jealousy. Stop calling it that.
Crap. Oh, we can't be told these original titles. We just mess it up every time. But like, I personally think that those 4 episodes are her best episodes of all of Odyssey. I'd say her worst is probably Push the Red Button, but to be fair, that's everyone's worst. Except for Jason. That's probably his best.
Jason is just taking a beating from us today.
It was compliment.
You said, but that means that every other episode with Jason in it is worse than Push the Red Button.
No, I mean just his
I know.
bits in the live show.
Still.
But his bits were so funny though. They were
good.
the only good bits of the episode.
They're not even in the real cut of the episode.
Yeah, it's for the people who are loyal enough to listen to the live show because they hate themselves like us.
Yeah. The ultimate masochism.
But like Monty was so good. It was so great to see Monty again. I
didn't tell Whit he was in town. So ashamed of him.
He just threw a rock through the window and he was like, he'll figure it out. And then he like got on a moped and like drove away.
But we just assumed it was Jason.
Probably. Jason, did you trip and throw a rock through the window again, you klutz? Jason was a gift in this 3-parter. I have so
just
much
gotta go
fodder.
back here into the shop where I work.
He's such a disaster and I love him.
Okay, Jason, thanks.
I want to make one of those like grids where it's just like functional disaster. And I can't remember what all of them are, but like it'd be like Whitaker, Meltzner, woman. I don't know.
Kendall?
There's not enough Kendalls. Too many of them are dead. So like it'd be like disaster woman would be Penny. Disaster Whitaker would be Jason.
Mm-hmm. Disaster Meltzner is Eugene.
I guess functional Whitaker's Jenny. Both Jennies. What's the
functional Meltzner's Katrina? I don't remember what the other one is.
I don't remember the other one is. Functional
Is it
Meltzner's.
Useless?
I don't think so. Let's go with Useless. Who's the useless Meltzner?
None of them.
Oh, I
Leonard,
know. Leonard and Everett, 'cause they never appear.
Leonard, not Everett. Leonard is
useless. It could be Wilma 'cause she's dead.
No, she was a good mom.
I mean, she can't be now 'cause she's dead. Useless woman is Renee. My hot take.
I don't like it that woman is just again.
I couldn't come up with a different category. I didn't want it to be Kendall because
Penny,
there's not enough.
Penny is part
she's
of the Kendall family.
No, she's functional. She's the
I'm saying that like we got Penny, we got Connie, we got Jules, we got June.
Okay, so it's
Connie's disaster Kendall. Clearly.
So
she's still
we're
eating.
More
she is at her age still eating orange juice and chocolate chip cookies.
I changed it, so it's Whitaker, Meltzner, Kendall, and Bassett. So I think we all know what dysfunctional, like disaster Bassett is Wellington because there's no other choice. Useless Bassett. There is no useless Bassett. That was just
his father.
Oh yeah,
Winston Bassett.
Functional is both Wooten and Penny, and
Penny is a Kendall in this organizational system.
But what?
It's
Bradford.
Yeah.
Bradford is also
and
under
Talia.
functional, and Talia. Talia almost leans into disaster a little bit at some points with her like falling into mud and stuff like that and like losing her mind.
Well, if we're gonna put her in there for that, then where does Wooten in that?
I don't know. But Bradford's definitely functional. But I think
and his grandpappy.
And his grandfather. And his grandmother, who we never get to see. His invisible, mute grandmother.
Hadley's a disaster.
Hadley's such a disaster. I forgot Hadley existed.
We all forget he exists because we forget the ties that bind existence.
Hadley reminds me of Jax from RVP.
Oh. I thought you were saying Jack Allen.
No.
I was like,
no.
Excuse him, what?
Just like, I don't know why, but I get the same disaster vibes from them every time they're present in any scene.
Yeah.
And I just know, like, oh, they're gonna ruin something.
Okay, have we officially transitioned into the album 56 review?
Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars for the long end. It was really good. Buck is beautiful. Jules was great. Everything was very good.
Okay, album 66 as a whole. This might be my favorite album since the...
Wait.
Since the... It's a lot easier if you just grab your laptop, you know?
But I didn't.
favorite album since the hiatus. This was a really good album.
Ow, my thumb.
Like, the BTV episode was, like, okay, but everything else was a slam dunk. So, first episode is Much Ado About Jealousy. I cannot believe we were blessed with such a Buck-heavy album. This is great. We had 4 Penny episodes and 4 Buck episodes.
I feel like
this
the
album.
reason why this album was so good is because it had so little filler.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Like, I miss like the... I guess we're kind of still doing like the storylines intertwining between seasons for different characters, but it's never going to reach the same level like 45 did.
So I have a Shakespeare question for you, Victoria. Because we're talking about, like, you know, Much Ado About Jealousy has lots of plot structure similarities to, you know, Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah.
But a key difference I noticed on the second time, and I'm curious about this. Did Shakespeare often have plot twists that were hidden from the audiences, like Buck? Because we didn't know that Buck wasn't actually going to Valerie's party and was actually working on a present for Jules? Or was it always reliant on dramatic irony where the audience knew what was going on and that was the source of comedy, that they knew what was going on and the characters didn't? Because...
Okay, are you talking about specifically his comedies or his tragedies or his tragicomedies?
I mean, the shortest, interesting answer is.
Much Ado
I guess because Much Ado About Nothing, obviously we know...
is a comedy.
Yeah, and in that one, we know what the truth is.
Yeah.
That's dramatic irony.
It's the same answer every time.
But it was not in this episode, and so that's why I was curious if there was other plays where it is like the audience is hidden from the truth.
Yeah, it's the same answer for all the different types of plays he writes. He always has the audience know everything that's going on.
Okay, that was my guess.
So, like, a good example would be you know that Hero's not dead in Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah.
Is probably like the best example.
And you know that it was all like Claudio's plan the whole time, and that it wasn't actually what was going on. There was no affair going on, stuff like that.
The thing with Shakespeare is you always know what's going on with everyone.
Okay. That is what I figured the answer was, but I wanted to check because I've only read 2 plays by Shakespeare, which is less than you have.
Wait, did you read Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
When did you read that?
Grade 10. We spent a long time on that.
I'm the only one.
Yes.
Actually, I'm literally.
You should just read it. It's not long.
No, I have it on my Kindle.
Read it.
I've been
it's
so
good.
busy.
I know.
It's because I've been reading so many other plays. I didn't want to get things confused.
That's fair.
Because I feel like I'd go into analytical mode and then I'd focus on all that instead of my actual readings. I got on my Kindle Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Twelfth Night.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get The Tempest.
I was going to say Tempest.
I've never read any of those. So, yeah, which is a crime. I'm glad that, like, I have read the ones I have read, though. Like, my life would be a sadder place without Cymbeline.
Yeah.
Which is
I know.
the most obscure play. So I'm very happy that I have that going for me.
It is amazing to me that in their wild night of reveries that Jillian and Jules had enough time to do a bunch of stuff, including driving all the way to Connellsville and back before, like, an absurd hour and Connie was still awake.
I wish I had a Jillian in my life to keep me on schedule.
I want to know how long does it take to drive to Connellsville, because I feel like it's very inconsistently implied.
It is.
Because the thing that I always come back to in my mind...
No, the thing is, if we ever were able to sit down, like Nathan or Kathy or someone, and ask them, how long does it take to drive to Connellsville?
Well, it depends on how fast you're driving.
I think they'd say, like, I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, that's fair.
So...
Which is a bold response coming from Nathan Hoopler.
I've always felt like it would take about, I don't know, like an hour to a couple hours.
See,
like, the way...
I feel like the most reliant source, probably, is the way Ed talks about it. That's what I was going to say. I feel like the general rule of my instinct, I feel like most of the time they talk about it, it feels like kind of a Nelson to Castlegar kind of distance.
See, that's always what I've imagined.
But
And
the
that's
thing,
like in 45 minutes to an hour.
45 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that always, because it's about double going to trail. The
Yeah.
thing that always sticks in my mind, though, is opening day when the shepherds arrive at the Timothy Center and they're like, we got in from Connellsville, we've been driving, and they make it sound like they've been driving for so long, like it's like a ridiculous distance, like they've been driving most of the day, is kind of the implication.
The shepherds?
Yes.
I mean, who were they traveling with?
Themselves?
Like all four of them?
Yes.
Bethany's in the car is my answer
So?
to that.
They didn't stop every 5. I mean, the car did break down,
I mean,
right? But
along with the car breaking down, I feel like the conversations might have made the trip feel a little bit longer with agnostic Aubrey and Bethany losing her mind every 12 seconds.
I thought you were going to say, like, she had to go to the bathroom every 12 feet.
No, I'm just saying, like, it would probably be a very tiring drive having to put up with those two.
It's fair. So, it is still
also Aubrey the entire time being like, I don't want to do this. I want to hitchhike.
I'm such an angsty 12-year-old or however old I am.
My middle name's Andromeda. I work for the government,
that has nothing to do with what's about to happen to you, Tom.
I see a girl named Justine. Let's run her off the road. I have an urge to. I don't know why.
Dad, turn here.
It's like the Goofy movie. It's like, do we turn left or right? Aubrey, what do we do? And she grabs the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a bunch of stuff, and then they're like, oh, we also went to Connellsville and did this stuff, and we're back, but it's still early enough that Connie's still awake and watching, like, We'll Always Have Pueblo, whatever it's called.
I just like to think that movie's really long.
It is, I'm sure, very long.
I like to think it's
probably like the whole Pride and Prejudice miniseries length.
How long is Casablanca? I'm gonna say it's
I will assume that was a rhetorical question directed at me.
As Casablanca is. Oh, wait.
You know, I have to say, Victoria, the facial lady who was like...
It is an hour and 42 minutes. That's how long it is.
So not something that would make Connie stay up till 2 a.m. watching it, probably.
I mean, it depends on what time it's on TV. Or she decided
I assume she was watching it on DVD.
I assume that she... Like, it was...
Because she already talked about how she wanted to, like, watch sad movies and cry and eat ice cream with Jules.
That's
so
true.
I assume it wasn't a coincidence that she was watching it.
Maybe there's, like, a sad movie channel. And they're just like, Connie, this one's for
like
you.
Like the anti-Hallmark channel.
That'd be so good, though. Could you imagine that?
It's only movies with depressing endings.
It's called... Wait. It's called Halldark. And it's just really depressing content 24/7.
I need to figure out what is the script formula that comprises an anti-Hallmark film.
There's always a death in the family. There's a lot of dead animals.
It's always the middle
jobs.
of July. It's never Christmas.
It's never Christmas. There's a lot of people not knowing when your birthday is. There's a lot of people getting broken up with.
There's lots of people in, like, really busy, high-stress corporate jobs, but they just really love it, and they never decide to leave at the end of the movie.
There's a lot of people giving up on their dreams.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of people...
A lot of people who start the movie out with dreams and then abandon them throughout the movie, and they end with them abandoned.
There's this one where this girl can't figure out her life, and she keeps on going to, like, all these different jobs, but at least she has a boyfriend. It's kind of long distance, but she hopes it'll work, but then he goes to Budapest. That one makes Connie really sad, but she doesn't know why. The Halldark channel. We're here to make you cry. It's every now and then they get, like, major competition from the soap opera channel, though, because everyone's just like, we don't know which one to watch.
So anyway,
are you proud of my pun?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, something that starts with dark, but then I realized the end of Mark rhymes with dark.
So
I used my rhyming ability.
The spa lady keeps on talking about how the facial makes your skin really moist. And I realized that's a very different thing than making your skin moisturized. Having perpetually moist face skin isn't really something I'd want to pay for. It makes it sound like she's giving you hyperhidrosis.
Like, if I wanted this, I could just stand in the rain.
I was like, I don't want moist skin. She's not saying it moisturizes you.
That's another thing in the Halldark chant, or the
it's
Halldark
just
channel. Like, you know how people like
gothic creepypasta
kiss in the rain?
Uh-huh.
There's no kissing, it's just rain and sadness.
Just rain.
It's just raining all the time, but it's not like fun rain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like bad rain.
Just bad rain.
It's bad rain.
That's the title of one of the movies. There's basically just like the video game movie version of Heavy Rain.
It's somehow, I was going to say,
there's just lots
of
yelling about Sean and tripping over things in
but it's
like
not
grocery
funny.
stores.
He gets more beat up every time he falls. It's just really sad and depressing. I thought I was going to say
it's still
like,
funny.
Somehow worse adaptation than Uwe Boll did of Blood Rain, and it's called Bad Rain.
Okay. I also forgot to mention that Jillian and Jules went to Chez Moi for dinner, so that was like a way back callback.
Yeah, the way back.
Yeah, this episode was very funny. Still, the high point of it for me, one, is the fact that they did like a genuinely good job at pulling off like a Shakespearean drama kind of plot
line. Just really,
and the main thing
written.
is Penny is so funny and relatable in this episode. She has so many funny lines, and that wasn't this episode.
I know, but I just wanted to bring it up again because it's.
I did think about it. The leaves at the top of the tree taste the best. It's the awkward phrasing that makes it the funniest.
Like, that is the funniest thing Kathy's ever written.
The funniest,
it's so
out
good.
of all of the funny lines that Penny has in this episode, the funniest thing to me is the end when Penny and Jules are like, no one can replace you, Connie. No one can replace you, Jules. Yeah, no one can replace me either, guys.
And Donkey. She's such a good character. I'm just, every single time, like lately, she's been so on point with every single episode. I just end every episode or every scene she's in just thinking like, I'm so glad she didn't leave the show after the Green Ring conspiracy.
And then we followed that up with Same Old Story, which also had great Penny and Wooten content. It was a great Parker episode because
I was thinking this was a sandwich one for a minute.
No, yeah, that was.
Oh wait, yeah, I did like this album a lot. Then.
Yeah, bringing in, we got Lucia, and she was great in it, and then we had Penny and Wooten, and they were awesome. They're like, yeah, we're going kickboxing, and then we're doing roller derby. Make sure don't worry, the kids do kick you a lot. And then I love Penny because she's like, I'm making pizza every night. Good morning, everyone. I've made you like pomegranate and Saba pizza.
Okay, I'm sorry, Connie. I'm sorry. Penny's my best friend now. Relationship ended with Connie. Like, Penny is my favorite female character now in the show. And that just, you know what that means? I need even more now for a Wellington Penny episode where they team up and fight crime. I don't know.
You know what I really want?
Hey, in the Oceans...
I really want Ocean's 9.
In Ocean's 9...
Yeah.
Can Wellington be in it?
I mean, not as one of the oceans.
No, but he's like...
he can be a character in it, yeah. He's like the Liam Hemsworth of the Ghostbusters movie.
Except
Chris Hemsworth.
Not as stupid, but as much as a disaster still.
Yeah. A disaster Bassett.
Yeah. My beautiful...
Disbaster.
My beautiful disaster boy. I love him so much. I still have my sign, I think, that says #1 Wellington fan somewhere.
Same Old Story was a good episode.
It was. I'm just thinking now about how much I love Wellington.
It overcame the stigma of being a Parker episode
It was
to be a good episode.
Good Parker episode. I felt so bad for those kids though at the end.
It went from moments that's like, haha, like, I understand it, I sympathize with them, and then when the kids all went like, oh, and I was like,
what did you do?
I was like,
never felt
that
more
made
for those
me feel
kids
sad
than I did at that moment. I was like, this is so depressing.
Because until that exact beat, I was 100% on board with David and Ava.
You know,
Not even with regard to them specifically as children, but just for parents in general.
So I remember I talked about this in the review. Like,
yeah.
I was on both of their sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But this is really mean. So when the kids were, like, really upset,
mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I totally get where you're coming from. I would be very upset, too. But yeah, that just, like, it hurt. And then with, like, them being like, they got rid of our tent, they're gonna sell us next, and me being like, or they got another tent.
I didn't think they got another tent.
And then they did get another tent.
They did get another tent. I was wrong. So, BTV Trinity wasn't terrible. It was the low point of this album, because the other stuff was pretty good.
We had, what was her job? Like...
Jacqueline Cusco.
Yeah.
She was an oceanographer and explorer.
So I'm gonna say submarinist.
Sure, if you want. She didn't actually go sous le marin until the end. But... We had
disaster submarinist, which was her.
Mm-hmm.
We had disaster everything, which is Quid. Specifically sailor.
Yeah.
And then we have disaster with ocean life, which was her dad, for like getting eaten by a shark or whatever. What was that bit? They're like, he died being like, oh no, I'm gonna be eaten by a shark.
I'm sure this will be totally safe. I'm going to go see this jaguar shark. That's what it is. Also, found out jaguar sharks are not real. But they didn't make them up for this episode.
We looked that up.
They're a fictional species that was created for like some other piece of media. And that's what you were seeing stuff was. I don't remember. It was like a book series or TV show or something. So they are fictional, but they were not originally from this, and that's why you saw stuff in Google Images.
Jules Verne came up with them?
It was not Jules Verne.
And then people like found like something that kind of looks like a jaguar shark, and they're like, Jules Verne created this species by writing about it, and he's just like, no! I wish I could meet Jules Verne, because it just seems like he was constantly just like yelling at people, being like, I studied I'm smart. I do research. I basically live in a library, which is why I know how science works, which is why I can write about science.
Do you know who else?
I'm not psychic.
You know who else wished that he could meet Jules Verne? Edgar Allan Poe. They had such a fun... Oh, you don't know about the relationship? I'll tell you about it later.
Wait, no, tell me now.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Unless it's inappropriate.
No, he just had like this...
What was it? Who wrote F. Scott Fitzgerald in that one guy?
No.
Who was it? Hemingway?
Yes, I think it was Hemingway. No, yeah. Edgar Allan Poe just had like the biggest celebrity crush on Jules Verne, and he would write him letters about like how much he liked his stories.
That. Him, that's the comic.
There's the Hark of Agron comic about it, and that's where everyone gets the reaction image of him like squinting at the letter. Yeah.
No, it's so good.
It's like, I drew us in a hot air balloon. We're sitting on the ground. He's like,
in Bungo, where like Poe is obsessed with Rompo. And then, although, like, that was also a very, like, the author, Rompo, like, the actual Japanese author, he was a huge fan of Poe, and so they kind of subverted it in Bungo by making it, like, Poe's obsessed with Rompo. And so that's why someone drew a comic once, which was, like, the take on the Hark of Vagrant thing, where it's just like, I drew us together taking down the Port Mafia or something like that, and he's just like, what is this? It was so good.
Such a good, long-lasting comic.
His raccoon was on his shoulder.
It's always the best when someone makes a weird post about Edgar Allan Poe, and then someone posts that as a reaction pic, and I'm so happy because I feel like most people don't realize that picture is of Edgar Allan Poe.
No, they don't. I know for a fact they don't, because I've seen posts where people are like, wait, that's what he looks like.
So, honestly, I kept on thinking about it more, and I do believe the most likely answer to BTV Trinity's biggest mystery is that this is Dale Jacobs doing an impression of Captain Quid because Eugene had the ROC adventure, and then he reminded everyone about the Barclay's Old Hawaii stories, and they're like, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do a caricature of a real living person that some of us have met before on TV.
You know what happened? They like went up to Dale. They're like, Dale, can you do this? He's like, I'm sorry. I have a certain integrity with like how I present things, like both in newspaper and out of newspaper. This is media too. It's Captain Quid. Yes, I will.
Hand me the pork rinds.
I will do it for free. You don't have to pay me on this one. But I'll only be
the
in
sea
the
shanties
studio.
will be payment enough.
But just warning you, I'll only be in the studio for 3 hours.
Honestly.
And I expect a tour at the end of it.
A 3-hour tour. I do.
I forgot about the Pop-Tart joke.
Yeah, I do feel like Pop-Tart TM.
I still like to think that happened
good.
because of us.
I really want to believe it did.
Because I don't know why else it would happen. Unless that's
like
just
the most obscure joke in the whole show.
Another answer I'll accept is they love that joke as much as us over
I
in
sure
the
hope
writers'
so.
room.
They should, because it's
that's
hilarious.
What it deserves.
I like this episode. I still think it was more of a setup for like understanding hermeneutics and scriptural analysis as much as it was the specific topic, which is, as we said before, it's kind of like a payoff for later this year with taken out of context, and like the Wycliffe stuff coming up. It is also weird, and this kind of stands out from other BTV episodes, and I kind of noticed it the first time, but I forgot to talk about it, I think, that the wrapping narrative for this episode doesn't really have to do in any way, shape, or form with the moral of the episode in a direct way. Like deep sea diving in submarines and being scared of the ocean have nothing to do with the Trinity in the way that like Eugene going to a Christmas mall to like tell people about the Christmas traditions had to do with like
reading scripture or something like that. It's like reading.
But that's not what the episode was about, really.
Yeah,
about like trying to redeem the
point.
season at the mall, or like taking Bernard to the dump to talk about compaction.
That's still so good, and also just like forgiveness, and he goes to the wrong place. He's like, I'll forgive you for this, and he's like, I'm so sorry.
Since this episode was all about here's Devin's controversial opinion of the day. Shouldn't be controversial.
It would have been good if BTV Revenge, if we still had Bernard was getting revenge on Eugene taking him to the dump that one time.
Or everything that Eugene has done.
Too.
All of the ukulele playing at the mall at Christmas, everything.
Just revenge for literally every single BTV thing Eugene's ever done.
Exactly.
In one sketch.
Given that this episode was like all about like digging deeper into the deeper, harder to understand nature of God's existence and scripture and stuff, it would have been really nice because this episode is kind of exceptional in that we had like 8 different people playing God in this episode because we had so many different sketches with God talking, and there was like 3 people in each one.
Yeah. Because
of the Trinity, and they had different voices for all of them. It would have been so nice if throughout these many sketches where like 12 different people voiced God, if it wasn't guys doing the voice every single time. Like, I know that's entirely too much to realistically hope for from Focus, despite the fact that God doesn't have a gender and describes himself as in feminine, like explicitly female terms many times throughout Scripture.
When does that happen?
Many times in the Old and New Testament. I can pull them up later if you want. Yeah, it happens like lots of times where God's like, I am a mother to these people. They are suckling at my bosom. I'm nesting them, and uses some are obvious in English, some are only in Hebrew, that it's like feminine terms and stuff. But yeah, it's like all throughout Scripture. So it would have been nice. And the Noir Train sketch, still the best part of the episode.
I wish that either the Noir Train sketch was longer, or the different facets sketch was longer, and then it just got more and more chaotic as it went on before it stopped. Like, I feel like
like you said the first time, I feel like the Noir Train sketch was like just the right length. Like, they didn't overdo it. And I like that because it was the best one in the episode. And so I'm glad they cut it off at like a good length without making it draw on too long.
I don't know. I feel like BTV's steadily getting better, but there's still room to improve.
I feel like it's always 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, because I feel with each episode they fix something that was wrong before, and then they break something new. And I feel like we're barely ever making any ground, because there's always like aspects like, yes, you got this right from the original BTV that wasn't there in the last episode, but then there's something else that you had right before, and it's like, now it isn't like BTV.
Yeah.
And I know that it's like, hey, BTV can change, it can be something different, but it just feels so inconsistent compared to before. It's not even like, oh, we have a new consistency now, because it's like still changing
I get that
every
it
time.
has to change, but I
more
feel
so
like
than it ever did before.
it doesn't have to change as much as it has.
Yeah.
I think it's fine with the guy voices though, voicing God.
I mean, it's not a problem. It's just like it's kind of like the Doctor, you know? It's like this is technically statistically improbable to a large degree at this point. I just feel like when you have an episode specifically where it's like talking about like, hey, there's a lot in scripture that like you don't realize and that's hard to understand, that seems like the key place for it, I think.
Okay, where do you think Harlingville is?
Well, it's 3 hours away from Odyssey, they said. And they said it's the next town over from Millsburg in part 1.
Do we know where Millsburg is?
Close to Harlanville.
Who's from Millsburg?
That is where Buck was born, and that is where Pullhouse was born, which was not important yet. Once we found out that it's like, oh, okay, it's not actually that far, I'm like, fine, maybe it's just a coincidence that Pullhouse was also born there. I don't think it's a coincidence that the fire destroyed the records, though.
I don't know if fires happen.
But
I get what you mean.
Especially
fire, in like a tension 3-parter. Like
and a fire that happened to destroy the records of Buck's birth.
I don't know this 3-parter. I don't know if it's like a thriller. Probably not.
I mean, speaking of fires, like I said it the first time, but especially on the re-listen, this whole secret con friend group of Dolly and Novus and Skint and Felicia just increasingly makes me think of a series of unfortunate events, even more than before when you were comparing Skint to Olaf. Like, we then found out that it's a secret crime group of friends that hide secrets in paintings, and they have Latin pseudonyms, and they look after the children of their dead lost loves for whom they still pine, and they burn down hospitals. It's very VFD.
One of my teachers keeps on saying the word schism during class, and every time she does, I'm like, what? Where's the fire? It's just, I don't even know how to spell schism. Don't tell me.
All right.
I never want to know how. It's just one
you
of those
read
things.
The books.
I didn't get to that part. I only read up to a little bit of book 10.
Okay, book 10 is where they say schism a bunch.
Oh, wait, no, 9? No.
You read the beginning of 10, I thought.
A little bit of book 10.
Apparently not far enough to hear him talk about schisms. So, it really says a ton about Jules and Buck's relationship that when they were reading the details from Buck's birth certificate, she knew immediately that, like, Jebediah was Mr. Skint's first name, and she knew that Buck's mom was supposed to be named Stacia Bartley, like she remembered that name and stuff like that. Also, Eugene and Katrina phrased it that Buck should still, quote, take Jules out, unquote. We've come back to the sniper rifle from before, and buy her a milkshake, not, quote, go out for milkshakes. So it's very clearly like datey territory, more so than I had realized was the stage that they were at.
I don't know. I feel like they might be at it, but they don't know.
Because I didn't...
Or either that, or it's just like, they just kind of realized they were dating at one point, and they're like, huh, okay, and then I feel like it might be that. They just realized that it's just like, oh, were we... I guess.
Clearly,
I
Eugene and Katrina already know.
Yeah.
And then, Skint has the line where he's like, the police have never come up with a scam that could catch me, which was, of course, foreshadowing that the only one who could scam Skint without getting caught
was Skint.
Yes.
You've done yourself in, old man.
And I do have to respect the fact that Skint was like, I love Dolly, but she loved another, and so he was just like, okay, that's that.
So
and we kept on.
Killed him in a car crash.
Yeah. ran him off the road with his mistress Justine. No, he was just like, okay, that's that. And then they just kept on being friends without it being a problem as far as we were aware. And I'm like,
I mean, I don't believe him.
I mean, she's, this mom still like came up with a very elaborate series of puzzles to keep Skint from getting her money.
Yeah, exactly.
But
she clearly did not trust him, and the way like he always talks about Stacia in front of Buck, I'm like, there is like a lot of Dalton Kearney baggage there, and he is your Everett. You leave him alone.
But he, at least didn't like literally take him and make him think that that was his son and be like, oh, I am your real father, boy. And
he made the audience think he was his son. What's the bigger crime?
We were deceived for 1 to 2 whole episodes.
I mean, you thought he was his dad before the 3-parter.
Did I? I don't think I did.
Let's rank them. I'm gonna put Much Ado About Jealousy before Same Old, or end of the long end. Honestly, because I think it's just kind of perfect. The moist scene is the most squeamish I've like ever been in a very long time, but that scene was amazing. Like, I don't know if I can ever listen to it again, but it was great. And then Same Old Story, and then BTV Trinity. Say what you will about 6-episode albums, goodness knows I have. Easier to rank.
That is the thing I have said about them. Yeah. So much harder when we get to the end of the year for the AIOC, and I'm like, dang, I can't balance 12 things in my head at once.
I can't even count to 12. What am I going to do?
The long end, Much Ado About Jealousy, almost said Jealousy, Same Old Story, BTV Trinity. Great album.
It was pretty good. I'm
giving this album overall a 4.8 out of 5, which is probably the highest ranking I've ever given an album.
I'm gonna give it, let me think. I don't know. I feel like 4.5 is pretty fair. I don't know. I just kind of feel like BTV Trinity didn't offer me much.
Well, yeah, that's why I was knocking points off. Same Old
Story has like some parts where it's not great, but it does have better stuff for the Parkers, so sure, 4.5. I need Captain Quid to leave. He scares me.
Well, I'm sorry, he's going to be around for a very long time.
On one hand, I'm like, I want him to leave and never come back, and to yell at him. Like him at it like I'm Smeagol and he's Gollum.
To be fair,
but on the other hand,
if there's one thing at which Quid is excellingly
he's
skilled,
good at leaving,
it is leaving and not coming back.
He's good at leaving, but he's not good at not coming back.
Well,
it just takes him a while. He's like the world's most awful boomerang.
He's good at leaving and not coming back until you reasonably should be dead or are dead in Eugene's case.
He's like a boomerang that you throw and you're like, I can't see it. And then 5 years later... Because it
has to go all the way around the earth and come back around.
5 years later, you're like in a completely different part of the U.S. Yeah. You're just like at your newspaper, just like typing on your computer, and the boomerang flies in through the window that you could have sworn was closed. How did it open? And it hits you in the head and steals your identity. They thought that was Dale Jacobs. That was Captain Quid. He stole Dale's identity. Dale's been locked in a closet for the past year. Ever since...
Who is Robin and Melody's real father?
Ever in England, that wasn't Dale.
Yeah, that's what I figured. The hiatus claimed many casualties.
He saw him in the airport and he took his passport and took his identity.
With the Lost Riddle and album 56, and they're like, Dale, tell us all these like minutia memories from 30 years ago from your childhood. And Quid's like,
He's like, I had a dog once, and you're like, yeah, you did. Good job. And that's all they ask.
All right, we believe it's you. You can now conduct your banking over the phone.
Okay, I believe you.
Next time, Victoria.
Things I want. I'm just gonna say straight up for the next album. Maury. Wellington, Monica, Ocean's 9, Halldark, Old Man Jason,
The J electron theory.
Yeah, is that what we're calling it now?
Yeah.
Okay. I want that sassy mute character. I want
I'm tired.
another Maury episode. And I want...
That's a lot for a 6-episode album.
Yeah, I want 2 Maury episodes. Wellington and Penny will defeat Maury along with
in the
help
Ocean's 9 episode.
Ocean's
Is that the
9,
plot
yeah.
of Ocean's 9? Is they're taking down Maury?
They take down Maury. That's the way Maury gets taken down. And honestly, what a good...
Wait,
like,
so
part
is
of you
Suzu
thought
not one
that,
of them?
like, she's their informant.
Okay.
So Ocean's 10. Emily's not allowed in.
Well, we didn't have any like kids. Jules was the youngest, but she's in high school.
Emily's just standing outside.
We've had a lot bigger cast of characters to choose from if we were including children.
So like their secret hideout, she's like, let me in, and they're like, no.
Age sure goes up though because we included Agnes to be the haunter.
She's gonna do such a good job though. She's gonna play Maury like the dumb little fiddle he is. Mm-hmm. I'm so ready for this.
Very appropriately Sherlocky.
Agnes's laser eyes are gonna activate. He's not gonna know what to do.
Is this Homestuck now?
No.
She's just a friendly old grandma ghost with laser eyes.
All grandmas have laser eyes. You wouldn't know because you're not a woman or a grandma.
Those are both true.
I have grandma informants who tell me things. Terrible things.
Don't sound like fun informants. Okay, next time.
They're party animals.
Next time, we're finally starting the AIOC for 2019. Because this episode was supposed to come out... this episode was supposed to come out in January, beginning of January. We're starting off in a Sun-Scorched Land, Part 1, and Malachi's Message, Part 1. We're finally talking about Malachi's Message. So much plot to talk about in this episode.
You're saying that the second OAC episode is Malachi's Message. I was like, they already have something named Malachi's Message.
It's a different episode, guys. Same name, but it's completely different plot.
It's just Jason falling into a lake on loop.
This is the Halldark version of Malachi's Message.
It's so much more depressing.
He's not an angel this time.
So many more fights between Eugene and Katrina. So many more mentions of her dad being disappointed in Eugene.
So, that's what we're talking about next time. Sun-Scorched Land, Malachi's Message, both Part 1. Until then, thank you for joining us on our side of YouTube. I've been Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Maltzner.
So many more homeless men in the imagination station passed out and they don't know why.
And you've been watching the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.
Jack and Joanne don't know what to do with their lives and careers.